listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling. And now, here's your host, Jon Cross.
That's right, I am Jon Cross, and this week's After Movie Diner episode is brought to you by the Gold Ninja video release of Local Legends on Blu-ray. That's correct, it's your chance to own the fantastic movie Local Legends, all about today's guest, Matt Farley, and his Motern Media empire, and what it means to be a local legend. Now available, chock full of special features on Blu-ray exclusively from Gold Ninja Video. Go to goldninjavideo.com and pick up your copy of Local Legends today. Let me just bring up the I'm going to bring up the Wikipedia page and the IMDb page of Inside Llewyn Davis, just so I have my cheat sheets for the second half of the show.
Great. I can't wait to talk about it. I've watched it so many times.
Yeah, it's like a big movie for you, whereas for me, it's probably a Coen Brothers movie. I think I've only seen maybe twice or maybe three times.
Well, I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are. Don't tell me yet.
No.
And I hear the party was a lot of fun, yeah?
The party was lots of fun. It was a complete surprise. Was not expecting it at all. Kim had told me time and time again it was Sunday. I was expecting Sunday the whole time. And then it was really Saturday. She said, "Oh, we'll just go to Red Hook. This is this little neighborhood. We'll hang around. We'll get album. We'll go to this record shop. We'll take some photos because it's kind of a different looking area. And I thought it'd be a good place to kind of get photos, kind of musician photos sort of thing for album promotion." And then she was like, "Then we'll go to Sonny's Bar, which is this like really cool old New York establishment kind of bar down by the water there. And we'll just go there and we'll have a few drinks and our friend Krista's going to join us." And I was like, that sounds great. So we went, we got lobster brunch. It was really nice. We walked around, we took pictures. And then we show up at Sonny's. And it was so funny, Matt. So as you go to Sonny's, there's a bar on the right. And then there's like 3 booths on the left. And then there's like a back room and lots of other stuff happening. And the back room and everything just looked super packed from the front door. And there was an empty booth at the front. So like when Krista came back to me, I thought she had been at the bar or whatever. I was like, "We've got to keep this booth. I'm going to put my bags and my jacket here because we need them." There's never a booth up front. She was like, "I've got a table at the back." I'm like, "You can't have a table at the back. The back's packed, like from where I am." She's like, No, we've got a table at the back. I was like, "Are you sure? Because we never get a booth." And there's a booth.
And the whole back was your party, yeah?
Yeah, the whole back was... Well, no, there was some people in front of the party. That's why I couldn't see the back room, but it looked full. And then, the whole back room was my party, which was hilarious. So
beautiful. That's great. That's cool that Charlie and Teresa were able to make it. That's awesome.
Charlie and Teresa were able to make it. And not only make it, but buy me or find me Airport Action Heathrow, the DVD.
That's hilarious. Yeah. That's the kind of gift you want, though. You know?
It is. Yeah. Charlie Roxburgh, the director of such hits as Don't Let the River Beast Get You and Slingshot Cops, purchased for my birthday, or found for my birthday, I don't know which one, Airport Action Heathrow, which on the back describes, with the kind cooperation of BAA Heathrow. So they didn't just show up and just start filming. It was part of British Airways. We went airside to bring you superb airliner action from around the ramps and right by the runways.
Well, that's something to get into, like... industry videos, you know, like that should become your new thing.
That should be. Well, I don't know if you've heard, but there's a really good documentary on Netflix where, and this is something that it made me think of you actually, because you write songs about anything and everything. Back in the day, corporations used to issue like Broadway musical writers to write corporate musicals for them. And then they would stage them, like huge musicals that they would stage at company retreats where they would kind of go to a big hotel with a big ballroom or whatever, and then these off-Broadway actors who like were in their downtime between seasons would come and perform musicals about bathtubs or plumbing or hats or Coca-Cola or whatever it is.
If I worked for that company, it's like, just give everyone $500. Give a $500 bonus to all of us, so we don't have to sit through this. What a waste of money, you know?
But one of David Letterman's old writers for his show became enamored with these musicals and started to collect them on vinyl. So the documentary, which is called Bathtubs Over Broadway, is all about this guy's collection of corporate musicals. Some of which are absolutely fascinating. He hunts down the writers and the stars and it's a whole thing.
That's fascinating. It's like a hotel in Vegas hiring Scorsese to make a 15-minute movie. You know,
right, yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah,
it's exactly like that. It's this mad little niche world. And why not a music, especially from the man who's written 20,000 songs about everything, why not a musical about an airliner or a musical about soap suds or something? You know what I mean?
Well, it's the kind of thing Charlie and I have, we have it on the website. For $225,000, we will make your movie,
Yeah,
and that's the kind of thing. I mean, think of that. So if some like cabinet company wanted us to make a feature-length film about where cabinets played a major
right
major part.
So I was just watching this afternoon I don't know why, but I just watched one of the newer Bond films, Skyfall, again. I've seen it before, but having had this big discussion about James Bond because the new Bond theme by your favorite performing artist Billie Eilish came out. And I had a big, long, ranty conversation with a friend of mine on Twitter about it because the song is not a Bond theme. I mean, we could discuss the merits of the song all night long, but it's not a Bond theme. And it made me want to rewatch the Craig films again just because I'm weird like that. So I was watching Skyfall, and there's a whole action sequence at the beginning where, for no apparent reason, a train, and I think it's a train running through Istanbul, I think it's Istanbul. It's somewhere anyway in kind of the Middle East, Eastern Mediterranean. Some country out there. For some reason, there's a train, and on the train are 4 brand new VW Beetles. Yes. And there's even a line of dialogue in the movie where Moneypenny is driving along in a Jeep next to the train while James Bond is like smashing these things. M says, what is that? And she goes, VW Beetles, I think. It's like a line of dialogue. It's like in Casino Royale when the woman asks him about what watch do you wear? You probably watch a Rolex. And he goes, it's an Omega, actually. And then goes into the history of Omega watches. And I'm like, stop right now.
Product placement, yeah.
Yes, but it's there's one thing like product placement, like some guy drinking a Budweiser, because in reality, some guys drink Budweisers. Like that's not that I care about. But
just to pause the movie to discuss the product, it's actually quite delightful.
Nobody has ever given a crap what watch James Bond.
Yeah, it's like if River Beast was sponsored by the kitty litter, industry.
You should definitely have had River Beast sponsored by a specific kitty litter, so you could have mentioned it. That would have been tremendous. Litter,
just like the kitty litter council, just like if there's like, all the kitty litter people, like the Chamber of Commerce for kitty litter.
This movie was made with the the kind cooperation to use the back of that DVD, the kind cooperation of the Kitty Litter Foundation of America.
Yes. Yeah. Kind Cooperation is a good album title. That's your next album.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, Matt, because, yes, again, welcome to the After Movie Diner, listeners. We are doing yet another episode where Matt flagrantly helps me to promote my album, and then we talk about a movie that's loosely, if not at all, related in any way.
This is closer, though, this time around, at least,
Yes, it is. Yes, the frustrations, machinations, and moral center of musicians is the theme of our movie, sort of, in a weird way. and along with cats, which is another theme, but not a theme of the album, but a theme of the movie. But,
well, you got a dog in this one, so
I do.
Close enough. Let's talk, folks. Let's talk about Where Our Hearts Can Be a Shambles, the latest. Amazing. This is like a career-defining album from Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures, and what a career you have. I mean, I was looking at Spotify, and I mean, that is a deep discography. Oh my goodness, so many albums. Wow. It's pretty darn cool. You just turned 40 years old, and you have a gosh darn body of work.
I do. And most of that's up is just the stuff I've done in the last 12 years. Prior to that, I have a ton of tape cassettes recorded on 4-track, some of which have been released on Bandcamp as, I think, former 4-track fixtures or something like that. And I may do another one of sort of those one from the vaults. But everything that's on Spotify, I believe, is from the last 12 years. And I think it's only missing my first album that I did in 2008 when I got the computer. But everything else, I think, from the earliest one, which is The Early Nose Catches the Breakfast, I think is the first album. And then right up to, Where Our Hearts Can Be a Shambles, which is the first album title taken directly from a lyric. I don't normally do that. The album title is normally completely separate. But this time, the lyric and the theme of the album combined, and I thought there's just no better title than Where Our Hearts Can Be a Shambles.
It's very evocative, and it feels cinematic. Everything about the album feels cinematic. Odilon Green on Twitter the other night described it as atmospheric, and it's very, very accurate. You know, like it feels like you're like you can envision a landscape just by listening to these songs. You know, there's depth to the production, which, you know, obviously has something to do with all the collaboration you did, which is very cool. Before we get into it, though, tell me about this album cover. I love it.
Yeah, so this album cover, again, everything in this album I took a lot longer over than I normally do. Normally I just slap stuff together and away we go, and it all seems to kind of fit together. This one I worked a lot harder at. I had a series of photographs that I had taken over the last sort of 2 or 3 years, sort of in a file. I had been keeping an Instagram called Secondhand Scene, which was sort of photos from my travels and various different things. And I don't really do a lot with it. I love to take photos, but I don't really do a lot with it. And I was pulling out some of the pictures from that folder to kind of be like, well, which one can we use as an album cover, or should we shoot a new thing, and da-da-da-da-da. I came across a photo which I had taken over July 4th last year at our friends Trish and Tom's house, and it was overlooking the town of Danbury. And it was just at dusk, so the sun is setting, and it's just at dusk, and it's July 4th, so obviously you get these nice big sunsets during that period of the year. And there was this old house in front of it, and it had a single light on. And there were some other lights on in the background in other buildings and other houses. But I went into Photoshop because I love this idea of a single light and a single old house as the sun is setting with the moon in the corner. I just thought it was such a nice idea, and sort of the last light left on kind of theme. There's that old saying, well, the person who leaves, please turn off the lights, or whatever it is. So it's the idea that there's sort of that lone person still out there. And so I photoshopped out all the other twinkly lights in the town, because Danbury's quite a big town where the photo was of, and just kept this sort of shadow of the rest of the town, and just this one house with this single light on. And that was the idea. And it was just a doctored photo that I had taken last year on July 4th, just a throwaway photo of the sunset that ended up being the perfect album cover. And then I used all these other pictures from the Secondhand Scene Instagram as sort of supplementary imagery. So once I had established sort of the color scheme for the album, or the idea for the album, I just used any other photos that kind of fit that kind of blue, pink, yellow, orange kind of color scheme from that album, and I've used it on my social media to kind of help promote the album. So it's not always just the album cover image, but it's hopefully these images that support it and help conjure up the same kind of thought and theme.
And is that just an effect on Photoshop to make it look like an album with the circle there and whatnot?
Right. So yeah, then when I put it all together, there was the idea of I had to go through all the different fonts, and I think I ended up going through about 20 or 30 different fonts, and then Kim helped me pick out the fonts and where the fonts should go on the album cover. Kim was very involved in kind of being the creative director for this one. And kind of pushing me in the right direction in terms of the kinds of imagery to use, both on my website and on the social and on the album. And I love, like on my After Movie Diner website, I have this idea of the website kind of being like a diner menu. Or like something that you would find in an old American coffee shop. So some images have like a waxy kind of plastic cover. Some images have like a turned down corner, and they all kind of represent something in my head so that it all kind of fits together. And I just thought, well, vinyl doesn't exist anymore in the for independent people like myself in quite the same way as it used to. I know you can do it, but it's costly. But I liked the idea of this being an album. It's Americana. It's older. It's got a feel to it, which I think kind of harkens back to when sort of vinyl was the only format for music. And I know it's a bit cheesy and whatever, but I found some overlays on Google Images, and they used them to give the album cover and the back album cover kind of a worn vinyl feel to it, just to kind of, again, add an extra layer of what I was trying to get at with the album.
Well, it's good. I mean, I never would have known that you took out lights from the city of Danbury in the cover, and it's effective. Like it looks just like a worn out record cover, and it's awesome, and it is the right feel for the album. This would probably be a double album, though, I'd say, huh? 17 songs.
This would at least be a double album. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to do, what is it, 4 or 5 tracks on each side of a vinyl? So yeah, probably.
Yeah, because I mean, yours are almost always 4 minutes or longer. So I mean, we're getting.
This is my, if people want kind of this is my blonde on blonde. This is my, I'm going to let the tracks run. If they're 6 minutes, they're 6 minutes. Live with it. I think in the past, I had played around with sort of stripping everything back, because I was kind of doing a lot more songwriting and kind of figuring out where my songwriting kind of sat and what I wanted to do. And while you're trying to find your sound, try and find your voice, and try to find your songwriting or lyrics, the best way to do it, I found, was to strip a ton of stuff back and try and do it as small and as tight and as compact as possible, which I had done with a whole series of albums. The last album, Former Glory, which was still very acoustic, had some collaboration on it, so I'd kind of figured out what I wanted to do with collaboration. And so this album, which came out about a year after I had been gifted my amazing electric guitar, Constance, by Kim. Kim bought Constance last year for my birthday. And releasing this album this year on my 40th birthday just seemed a perfect cycle. So I was like, let's make everything on this album bigger and better and longer. Let's make the album covers more vibrant and deep. Let's make the songs longer and more complex. Let's layer on multiple tracks. This is my ELO Jeff Lynne produced thing, and there's still the odd folk song for people who like that stuff, but this is the one where I've got 17 guitars and I've overdubbed a million things. Yeah.
Well, it works, and it's good, because like you said, you with Almost Naked is just right. Is it just Banjolele the whole time through? Is that the one? Or no?
It's actually just my ukulele.
Right.
Yeah, there's Bad Time Banjolele, which is sort of my banjolele, and then a couple of overdubs that I could manage with what I had at the time. And then there's Almost Naked, which is pretty much all songs I could just play on my regular ukulele with just the odd acoustic guitar overdub. Not much. No, there's no like digital drumming on that. There's no digital piano on that. It's all real instruments, real music all the time.
Yeah, well, you were due. You were due to flex your muscles again and make some noise. And I mean, what better way to say to the world, hey, this is kind of Jon Cross 2.0 or whatever you want to call it. No better way to say it than by opening up with some gosh darn rapping. Oh my goodness! Out of no one is expecting this when they're it's a new MPF album. Whoa, is some guy rapping? Let's listen to a little bit of Way Back Here and then discuss it.
Okay.
Lives with his parents, and everyone used to say he's gonna make it, but apparently he's been a faker. His dreams disappeared and his mom said, hey there Eric, you gotta start taking the path life's taking. Be a rule breaker, be a risk taker. When I was a little girl, you think I just wanted to be a homemaker? Dare yourself to scare yourself, do what you gotta do, but damn it, just prepare yourself. And holding on, stop with the road gone, the road is on, once you find your way back home. A big collar and a dusty road, in his element, finds a phone box that he needs to unload, part of an experiment.
I don't even want to I want to talk about it, but I also want to listen to it. This is the ultimate compliment. I'm like, I should really comment, but I just want to bob my head some more. So I think you told me for the bass for this whole album, is that you just playing regular guitar with the lows raised, right?
That's true, yeah. The whole album, and I play a lot of bass on this album. Almost every track has some form of bass. And it's all done on the top two strings of my guitar, and then just the mixer with the low turned up, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's something, a lot of people out there, they want to make an album, maybe they play guitar and they're like, well, what am I going to do? I don't have a bass. I don't know how to play bass. Look, you just, what you do? You do what Jon Cross did. And you're like, well, I'll just make the guitar sound like a bass. You'd never know. And it sounds great. And you're not just playing like the root of the chord. You're dancing around down there. And there's a lot going on. But let's talk about the rap first. Who is this guy?
So the rap artist is Justin Timpane, who is a director, writer, actor, and musician out of Baltimore. So he is tied to the whole Don Dola legacy. The last ever Don Dola Joe Ripple film, which was Dead Hunt. Justin Timpane is in that movie. He's one of the stars of the film. He also did the score for that film. So to be the man who had scored a Dola film, as you know, Dola is the king of weird independent scores. I mean, just phenomenal. And to be one of the guys who scored that film, and then for me to put the shout out, I just put a shout out on social and just said, I want contributors for this album. I don't know what I want you to do, but I'm going to send you the tracks and then you send me back whatever you want. Like I said to people, cut the tracks in half, stick a weird middle eight with some synth on it and some whatever. Do whatever you want. Like I expected people to go wild with it. Again, not everyone did. A lot of people just kind of sent back kind of what you'd expect, which is great because that kind of gave the whole album a sort of a very traditional feel to it, which was nice. But Justin sent back, he said, I don't know if you would use this, but he sent back this rap. And at first, if I'm to be completely honest, at first I listened to it. I loved it. I really liked the way it fit with the song. But then for whatever reason, I didn't mix it into the track. And I was still listening to the album for the longest time with that first track, which has been the first track. Way Back Here has been the first track since really it was written and recorded almost a year ago. And I was listening to it without the rap on it. And then about 2 or 3 months ago, just as I was kind of getting into finalizing the album and starting the mixing properly, I suddenly remembered in my head, oh yeah, Justin sent me that rap. By which point I'd already layered on a whole ton of stuff. Like, hopefully people don't notice, but on that track there's rhythm guitar, there's bass guitar, there's a riff guitar doing a kind of ongoing and repetitive sort of middle of the road riff, middle of the range rather riff, and then on top of that there's a lead guitar, and then later on in the song, T.F. Parent, who also plays on the album, a friend of Jay Mayo's, he adds yet another lead guitar. So there's then like battling lead guitars later on in the song. And I'd so got used to this as sort of this rock power ballad to begin the album that I thought, is rap really going to kind of like over egg it and take away from the nice rocky feel and da-da-da-da-da. But then I loved the audaciousness of it. I just loved the overblown ridiculousness of being like, nope, this new album's going to start with a rap. So that was, I went with it. I added it. And for some reason, it just works. It just works. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, it's like REM, their radio song from their album Out of Time. Just out of nowhere, some guy starts rapping, and it's like, wow, this is an REM album, and there's a whole rap breakdown. This is unusual, and but it's right, and why not? You know, because we don't need the same thing every time. That's you said, it's bombastic.
It's also like the Finkelsteins, right? The Finkelsteins, the renowned rock rap duo. The Finkelsteins, who really just, Master Pete Peterson dropping some rhymes. That's really where the inspiration came from, I think.
Oh, well, then you're welcome. So the good, and I heard a little Mayo backing vocals in there too. Is that right?
No, weirdly enough, the main backing vocals are me on that track. Jay does do some backing vocals later on. Jay's main contribution. So this is also hilarious. He not only produced T.F. Parent's guitar for the because the recording session that T.F. Parent did for the album was overseen and produced by Jay Mayo, but also even though there are some digital tambourines in the song, because the drum riff loop that I was using had some tambourines on it for the chorus, Jay then laid down a whole extra load of tambourines for the last play out. So the last play out has some real tambourines on it that are played by Jay Mayo.
Cool. They got digital tambourines. They got real tambourines. It's amazing. A bit of everything.
We just thrown everything into the pot and hoped it worked. Yeah.
Well, it's a testament to your production skills. It all blends into one nice, listening experience. It's not like you're hearing a lot of
production was a nightmare on this album. Yeah, production was a nightmare on this album. It really was. I was texting you the whole time being like, these Apple headphones and then these over-the-head headphones and then these other headphones I have and then the speakers in my, because I have external speakers for my laptop and then the laptop speakers. I'm like, all of them sound different. All of them, some are bassier, some are more treble, some are tinnier, some are more middle, some are whatever. And I was getting so frustrated, and I had to do, 17 tracks on the album, as we've already talked about. Most of them are over 4 minutes. So you've got to imagine like going through that through 5 different speakers, and then contributors still sending me stuff right up until the deadline. So constantly having a remix. Yeah, it was it was a lot. And
probably poor Kim's trying to do something. You show up, you're like, honey, tell me, is this song too trebly? And she's like, it sounds exactly like when you played it for me. And, oh no, this is very different.
Actually, my friend Mal, who was my best man at my wedding, and Kim, I played them a few tracks I was working on some time ago when Mal visited. And actually, they both kind of came back to me with a couple of suggestions about mixing, but also about the way I was singing that I actually used for this album, because I thought, well, why not? They know what they're talking about. Mal's a musician, and Kim's been a lover of music and a music appreciator for her whole life. So I was like, I'll take their advice. But their advice was twofold. It was essentially like, we know you can do the gravelly voice, and we know you can do the rocking voice, and we know you can kind of do the Waitian thing, and that's great. But actually, when you sing as yourself, there's some added thing to it. And we went back and forth on that, because I think I'm less secure when I'm not playing a part. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And so I had to kind of wrestle with that. But then the other thing was, that I used either a lot of echo, or that the vocals could often sound swampy or kind of back in the mix. And one of the other suggestions they both had was, don't be nervous, bring your vocals up front and make them more authentic to you. Just try that. Just see what happens. So I did that. So a lot of the songs have that philosophy in mind. There are a couple of tracks where I still rock out a little bit because it needed it. You just couldn't have done it any other way. And there's a couple of tracks where I add quite a lot of reverb and echo because that was kind of the sound I was going for. So it was more done purposefully than it was to mask any bad singing.
Yeah, I get the opposite advice. People are always like, hey, maybe bring yourself back a little. I don't know. I come into it with such self-love and confidence that the people around me are like, a little less. Let's pull you back. There's other instruments that we want to enjoy. All right, let's move on to track 2, Nothing and Nobody.
Says the man on the fence. Push it out to the dogs who will shake it and tear it apart. And fill up the oceans with idle opinion, like plastic and rubber on one's beautiful.
No, like what Odilon Green said about the atmosphericness. It's like, I'm pretty sure right there we're just hearing drums, bass, and guitar, right?
Yeah.
Just one guitar? Right?
Yeah, there's some lead over the top of it. But yes, some one rhythm guitar, one bass guitar, and one just the set of drums, yeah.
But nevertheless, it's got, like you work the reverb in such a way that it feels like it's recorded in like a room with some depth or something. I don't know. It just like, it reminds me a little bit of Bob Dylan's Oh Mercy album, which was produced by Daniel Lanois or whatever his name is, know?
Yeah.
And he's good at creating those echoey landscapes. So
I think this is probably the most doom-laden, cynical and darkest song on the album. So it was definitely it definitely lent itself to a more kind of swampier, echoier, reverbier kind of vibe. Also, I was just, with a lot of these earlier songs on the album, I was just having fun finally having an electric guitar. I had done electric guitar effects on my acoustic so that I could occasionally do kind of bluesy leads or whatever, but there is no substitute in terms of sort of being able to bend notes or hammer notes or just the sound of that an electric makes versus an acoustic. It was just being able to do that and get those long, sustained notes in the lead at the beginning of the song. Just to me, adds a whole new sound that I knew I could do because back in England I had played electric guitar quite a lot on different things, but had not done it for 10, 12 years. So it was kind of a wonderful release for that. Yeah,
that's cool. And there's songs in here where, that there's no lyrics for the first like 45 seconds. It's just like a cool atmospheric intro where you can show off your skills. And it's good because maybe it's because of I don't know if kids half our age don't care about albums and they only like singles, but I love albums. I love putting an album on and letting it run all the way through. And this is an album. This isn't just a collection of songs. Incidentally, did you write any that didn't make it, or what?
There was one that totally didn't make it, which remains unreleased right now. Which I may rework and do a different way. I had gone very kind of heavy and bluesy on it, and I didn't like that after a while. It just, and then I had sung it in a certain way where I just was like, oh, enough of this already. This just sounds bad. And then there was another song on the album, We Get to Decide, which I love. I really loved the lyrics of it, and I really loved the sound of it, but it almost didn't make it. That was the one that I was almost removing off the album before I released it. And then the other one, A Life on Loan. So me being me, I was umming and ahhing about getting rid of We Get to Decide. and I was in the middle of a mixing session. This was like 3 days before the album was released on Bandcamp, and I knew I was working down to the wire, and I get a verse and a chorus. My idea was to do like the Beatles did Her Majesty as this little like acoustic thing at the end of Abbey Road, that there's sort of a bonus track. And I thought, I had this like verse and chorus, and I thought, oh, I really like this. And I was sort of playing it in between mixing. And then, of course, I start to play it over and over again, and I'm like, oh, I really like this. And then I wrote a second verse and a second chorus. And I was like, that's so what was meant to be like a 30-second Her Majesty style song at the end of the album, just to cap it off, became another 3-minute song in the middle of the album.
No, I mean, this is the album for it, you know.
Yeah.
This is Blonde on Blonde.
But that was the 17th track. So it was good. Had I removed We Get to Decide and not recorded that one, it would have been a 15-track album. But as it is, it's a 70-track album, to deal with it, I guess.
Yeah, sprawl away. Sprawl away.
Gather all you need among the endless rush. Find quick contentment in a momentary hush, and thank your lucky stars that the greenery's this lush. Make your way along the path, don't be afraid. If the corners get too dark, burrow in, hunker down, show the whole damn world that there's still
Good stuff. Good stuff. Tell me about the harmonica. Who's doing that?
That's me. That's all me. The harmonica is all me. I pulled them out of mothballs and thought I would resurrect my harmonica playing while I was at it. What's funny is
that's great.
Oh,
I thought you brought in some ringer who was like an expert harmonica player. It turns out you're the expert.
Yeah, that's me playing harmonica. What's funny is listening to that, having just quickly listened to way back here. I expect rap to kick in. That second, the opening has that like drum beat and whatever that they're like, oh, he's going for another rock rap song. But no, then the harmonica kicks in. It's got a sort of REM meets the Traveling Wilburys meets the Tragically Hip vibe, which I loved, and I will have to say is purposeful. This was so these two songs, Time Out of Time and or Time to Time, and This Is No Kind of Place. Probably the last two to be written outside of A Life on Loan, but that was kind of A Life on Loan was sort of a surprise to me. That kind of came out and I was like, no, it really fits on this album. It couldn't wait for the next album. There's something about A Life on Loan that fit perfectly for this album and had to stay in this album. But This Is No Kind of Place, and Sometimes Life Is Like That. Sorry, This Is No Kind of Place and Time to Time, the next two, track 3 and track 4 on the album, they were back to back, and they were written sort of as, this was back when I only had 11 or 12 tracks. I wanted to push it out to like 15 tracks. It was before you had sent your track. And so I was like, I want to get the album out to at least sort of 13, 14 tracks. And I wrote these two back to back. And of course they end up being probably my two favorite on the album in terms of that particular songwriting. A lot of the other ones had either sat with me for a long time or were so new that I haven't yet necessarily found their place. But Time to Time and This Is No Kind of Place were back to back two of my favorites from the album. And this could have been the album opener. This has a very up album opener vibe to it. But I put Way Back Here as the first track for so long it had kind of stayed there. Time to Time, what I love about it, and the reason why I put it after Nothing and Nobody, is Time to Time is entirely the hopeful song that the person writing Nothing and Nobody needs to hear. The person writing Nothing and Nobody, who has lost all hope, lost all faith, lost all belief, has a nihilistic, cynical, and sarcastic opinion of what's going on in the world, needs to hear the song Time to Time in order to lift themselves up again. In fact, the first half of the album is very split personality, because Time to Time is this upbeat, positive, hopeful thing. This Is No Kind of Place is kind of railing against wherever they live. And then Sometimes Life Is Like That, yes, has a sort of resolute kind of, I'll suck it up and accept that life is like that. But there's also a lot in that song that is about reminiscences that are really happy and really positive. So the album definitely goes kind of upbeat, downbeat, upbeat, downbeat, upbeat, and then kind of finds its groove by about the fifth or sixth track. But the first four definitely swings and roundabouts with the whole emotion of the album.
Yeah, but while lyrically they might change, they're pretty cohesive in terms of sound.
That's why I went in that order, yeah.
Yeah, especially early on. It's like the first four, it's like, here's like this section, kind of like some anthem rockers, and then it starts to diverge into different styles once the old Farley easy listening Farley piano comes in. But before we get there, let's look at This Is No Kind of Place.
This is no kind of place. The fathers and the faltering, the confused albino is clinging to the pile, hoping nobody finds out what they do, hoping nobody finds out what they really think. Well, this is no kind of place. At night you can count all the victims, the drugstore glow. I'm clinging to the hope that a last minute hero comes through, the nail-biting tension of the hockey ring. The lights of the carousel from the bridge, from the sky, achievements never ending, messages you should be sending. Those lights keep me.
Oh, that's good stuff. You know what's cool? A lot of things are cool, but specifically the drums on this song, all the way through. You know what? I know you're using just like loops and whatnot, but they don't sound loopy. They sound real natural. So good work on that. I think the trick is that you keep it simple. Like I find when people try to do too much with programs and loops, then it sounds unnatural. But this sounded pretty natural to me. Good work.
Well, there's two things helping that. First, yes, I try and pick drum loops that are simple and get across the point without needing to be, crazy elaborate or something that I can't quite control. But the other thing that really helps is that GarageBand, which I record on, Kim and I got a new, I've always used the oldest GarageBand because the oldest GarageBand for the longest time was the only thing that could edit podcasts. And I normally edit podcasts. So I used to just use the GarageBand that was basically just a 4-track recorder, and I never really used the drum tracks on that because they were very simple and obviously digital. They didn't sound as good. The new GarageBand that I'm using on our new laptop, not only are the drum sounds infinitely better, they just infinitely sound more realistic, but also they are intelligent, meaning that as you change the lengths of the loops, and as you move the guide to the drum rolls or the what do they call them? The fills.
Fills, yeah.
If you move that over to like complex, or you move that over to more fills and less fills or whatever, then it intelligently kind of knows, based on where you put the loops, where to put those fills, and also plays it more varied fills. It's not the same fill each time. It's sort of different fills. So GarageBand actually really helped with this album, because being able to use those kind of intelligent drum fills and intelligent drum loops meant that the songs sound so much more authentic than they would if it was just the old style GarageBand simple 4/4 loops.
And is that is that Dr. Nick on the keys there?
No, that's me on the keys for this particular track.
Oh my goodness! You don't need collaborators.
So the other benefit of this album was that once Kim and I moved into this 2-bedroom apartment, we were able to get a bunch of stuff out of storage. One thing was my full weighted keys keyboard. So I was able to plug that into the laptop and get that fired up and play that. And yeah, a lot of things came out of mothballs for this album, sir, I tell you.
Well, I was going to say, man, I'm jealous of Dr. Nick's keyboard skills, but turns out I'm jealous of your keyboard skills. Those are sweet. Man.
It's just typical that I would get an electric guitar, probably play the heaviest song on the album, and then instead of doing a lead guitar, do a lead like rhythm and blues organ. But it just fit. It just fit really well.
It fit, yeah, and it's a great vibe all the way through there. That is good. That's bluesy and alive. Good job. So yeah, the first 4 songs have a very distinct kind of vibe to them, but then you open the floor. You said, "Who wants to collaborate?" And I said, "I'll send you." You know, the worst part about collaborating for me is someone sends me their song, and then I have to like put it onto my recorder and then figure out what they're playing, and I'm afraid that I'm ruining their song, et cetera, et cetera. And I realized I can put all that on you. And I can collaborate on your album by giving you the framework of the song and then letting you deal with all the other stuff. So that was wonderful on my end. How'd you like doing it that way versus the way everyone else did it?
It was interesting because I had to write lyrics. I had to find lyrics that would fit the tune, and lyrics that hopefully meant something to me, which is very difficult to do if you also don't write the tune, I find. But I managed to think about one of the areas I'd sort of never written songs around were the friendships that I'd made at college and university. I'd never really kind of written about that period. It coming up to my 40th and people sort of sending messages through and talking to those old friends again made me think about those times. So I thought that would be a nice area to write about, which I did. And then there was only one bit in the chorus that to make it work, I had to loop your piano one extra bar. Yeah, bar is the word I'm looking for. Yes, one extra bar in order to make it work. And then once I listened that back, I was like, I'm really happy about that. But I thought, having already had Johnny Unicorn play on the album elsewhere on the last track, The Last Chance, I thought, well, maybe we could get Johnny Unicorn back for a second track, and maybe we could make this the first ever occasion of the supergroup. Let's just put it out there, the supergroup, the super elite international group of Unicorn, Farley, and Cross. Collaborating, and it just became a thing of wonder.
Yeah, and good work on extending that extra bar. It's flawless editing right there, especially because I didn't even record with a clapper or whatever,
a tempo, a metronome.
Right, I just go by the Farley method, which is not.
Two professional and semi-professional musicians were like, what's a bar called? What's a metronome? You don't need to know these words, people. Just write songs.
Just do it. Yeah, a lot of people are intimidated by that. They're like, I can't make an album. I don't know the difference between a a bar and a tempo. And it's like, well, we don't either. And
We
look
did
at all
it.
the music out. Let's listen to a little bit of this. So yeah, Jon put out the thing on Twitter asking for collaborators, and like I said, anytime that I've had to like add piano to other people's work, I get nervous about it. But I was like, well, I'll just make a chord progression and add a little drums and some bass and send it to Jon and see what he does. And what he did was awesome. I've listened to this like 35 times. Oh, it's real good. And I'm ready for the 36th right here, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Farley.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, ready.
Broken glass, caught in pond, flashback to when we all belonged. We were finished and it was still left standing. We really nailed that forced landing. And despite the four winds, we remain the same, the same, the same, the same, the same, the same. We remain the same. It was just a jumble, a trick of the light. Nothing was planned, we just held on tight. Barely able to stand, but it just felt right. Sometimes life is like that. Sometimes life is like that.
Yeah, wow.
So good.
What's great is, I don't know what I would have done melodically, but it's definitely not what you did, and that's the beauty of collaboration. You brought a whole new melody to it, and then, what Johnny Unicorn did, like I'm not physically capable of doing anything like that. I mean, how many tracks of himself is on there? He's harmonizing with himself. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's doing a whole thing, and he just sent them over to me already mixed together. So it's super easy collaborating with him because he's such a professional. But yeah, my goodness, whenever Johnny Unicorn adds his flourish to a song, much like with Mitch later on in the album as well, I just love it. The more brass and horns and stuff that I can get on an album, the happier I am. It's really what I feel like my music has been missing. And whenever I get brass instruments, I'm just so happy. And last album we had Johnny Cole back in the UK, who's actually got a great promotion at work, so wasn't able to quite devote the time this time round. But in jumped Mitch and Johnny to save the day, and boy did they step up to the challenge and just hit it out of the park.
Yeah, and my songs tend to be short, and this album is no place for a short song. So Jon Cross found a way. He also took a snippet of the middle of the song, copied it, and dropped it at the end of the song for this coda, which is so good. It's like the songs, you think it's ringing out, and then suddenly the drums and the saxophone come back, and it's like, bonk, bonk, oh,
yeah. Well,
so
see,
good, nice touch.
What I realized once I got all the pieces together was that you and Johnny had given me the components to be able to do that. And then I thought that with the lead guitar and a couple of other tweaks, I could kind of make it flow like it should do. And it just, it added an extra bit to the song. But what I also wanted to do was I wanted to highlight both your piano playing and his horn playing without me singing all over it. I wanted a bit where those instruments really flourished, which is why I thought the coda worked perfectly. What I love about this track is, to me, it sounds like Billy Joel covering a Kinks song, because Billy Joel was never afraid to be, and neither were the Kinks, were never afraid to be jaunty or over-the-top melodic. Like, they never shied away from it. You've got like a Billy Joel song, My Life, which it was used for like a sitcom opener, right? Wasn't My Life used for like Bosom Buddies or something? What was it used for?
Yeah, exactly. Bosom Buddies with Tom Hanks.
Right, but whenever I hear My Life, even though I've never seen Bosom Buddies, I think sitcom opener. It's got that thing to it, and I don't mind that. Like, I actually like that. Like, it's so melodic and so jaunty. I'm like, yes, let it be this happy people in New York, you know, finger gunning as they walk along the sidewalk kind of sitcom opener from the 70s. And that's what I love about this track, is that it's got the sort of depth and weirdness of like an early 70s Kinks song, just when the Kinks like hit America. Jim Wallace was saying to me the other day, the co-host of this podcast was saying the other day that a lot of the album sounds like everybody in showbiz era of the Kinks, like that kind of early to mid 70s Kinks stuff right after they did Muswell Hillbillies. And that's what I love about it. So it's that meets Billy Joel. It's beautifully melodic. It's unashamedly melodic. And it just the horns, that opening could be, if you and Charlie were going to do a sitcom, that could be your theme right there. You know what I mean?
You're totally right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was great. And like I said, I've listened, you know, obviously I was involved in the creation of it, so I'm a bit biased, but boy, do I love that song.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And, you know, I sent it off to you and I was like, yeah, who knows? I don't know what's going to come of it. And what came of it, I was, whoa. Yes. I gotta up my game. We've got to form a super group is what's got to happen. The next album has to be a Unicorn, Farley, and Cross joint is what it needs to happen. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'll throw a bunch of chord progressions your way, and then let you work your magic. It's pretty awesome. Market is saturated. Yeah.
All right, dude. Sorry. My dinner's just arrived, so I'm going to bring it in and kind of try and eat while we do this as well, just because otherwise I'm never going to get to eat.
So good.
Sorry, dude. This is going to be like a real diner episode now because I'm eating. So that'll just add to the whole madness of this.
Oh yeah, it feels wrong not to hear some chewing.
Well, I'll try and mute the mic where I can, but okay.
Never. All right, market is saturated. Okay, is this Nick on the keys on this one no?
That is me doing the piano. Yes.
I knew you played piano, but I thought it was a secondary instrument. Maybe it is still, but if guitar's your main thing. But you have command of the gosh darn keyboard.
Well, what's funny about that is that is what I call my Crippled Inside song. It sounds like John Lennon's Crippled Inside.
Yeah.
And I do a thing, because I'm not as good on the piano as I am on the guitar in terms of like knowing where all the notes are and knowing what goes with what. So I was doing a thing where I had it to piano setting and I was trying to do this sort of jaunty ragtime walking piano kind of thing, which is difficult for me to do. And I suddenly realized that if I put it like on a kind of jangly setting and then kept it low enough,
like a saloon piano kind of.
Yeah. And then kept it low enough in the mix and just did like the chords, but in a very kind of lazy, sloppy way with the occasional, like, twiddly, twangy seventh on it, it worked. And I don't know how it worked. It was no piano playing prowess of mine. It was just, it's in a easy key. I banged the piano about. I made very sloppy chords, and it worked. So,
turns out that's all they've been doing all along. Well, yeah, and you can definitely see a change in the sound, like I mentioned. The first four, and then starting with Sometimes Life Is Like That. We're veering off into slightly different directions, and
your song,
the album's a journey.
Yeah, well, your song made that great gateway, because I'm like, well, this is perfect to move from the rockier stuff into the folkier stuff, just because the album needed that kind of transition, and your song sounded so different in theory to the rest of the opening that it made a perfect transition, because suddenly you're into this other world. And then Market is Saturated, again, has this like jangly ragtime thing where the tempo's still up. So we're still in that early part of the album where stuff is like moving along and you're being pulled through the album and it's rocking and you're not losing any speed or memento. But slyly over the course of two songs, you've been pulled into an acoustic world from an electric world. That's kind of what I was going for.
Let's hear a little bit of what were our ancestors thinking. Wow. And that's good old Mitch on the old trumpet, huh?
We have Mitch on the trumpet there, and that is finally Dr. Console on the keys, playing that smooth melodic synth in the background.
Yeah, those cool like electric piano sound. That's nice. Great work. The production on this one is perfect. It's such a nice warm sound, and
this was
and
a hard
song.
one.
What are we singing about here? I mean, it's pretty clear. It's about don't meet your heroes kind of thing. Is that?
Yes, there's a real story behind it, and I'm willing to get into it and name names.
Do it.
But yeah, no, the production of this one was really hard because it's a more open sound, so it's a sparser sound, so I can't hide a bunch of mistakes in 15 different tracks. It just has to be the ukulele, the bass, the keyboard, the trumpets, and the vocals.
It's nice. It's a nice mix. It's very warm and comfortable.
Yeah, and it was trying.
Name some names, though.
Yeah, I will. I'll get on to the exciting thing. So, a while back on the After Movie Diner, I was covering a lot of the Ash versus Evil Dead stuff because I had got in touch with the production department at Stars, or the promotional department, at Stars. And they had given us access to the episodes before they aired. And we were part of a kind of interview roster of people who were interviewing the stars of the show. Anyway, Bruce Campbell, who was on that show and who I had not interviewed on the show up until that point, kind of eluded me because Stars never put me in touch with him for the longest time. I instead spoke to Dana DiLorenzo, who was absolutely wonderful, and I spoke to Ted Raimi, who I bumped into at a New Jersey HorrorCon sometime later, and who just sung my praises. And this isn't sort of to big up me or whatever. He surprised me by kind of saying how much he liked the interview, how he thought the interview was very intelligent, and Dana had said the same thing to him because he said, "Oh, me and Dana spoke behind the scenes about having been on your show, and we both really loved it." And da 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 da. Anyway, I was feeling really good about that, obviously. So when I heard that the Ash vs. Evil Dead team were coming to the New York Comic Con, I got in contact with Stars again and sort of said, "Hey, would love to, like, I've got really great feedback from them. I met Ted Raimi, yada, 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 would love to come to the Ash vs. Evil Dead stuff at the Comic Con," and da 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 da. So that was all set up to be arranged, and I had got the go-ahead only to find out that they were like, "Well, we can't get you into the Comic Con, so you're going to have to, like, get a ticket for the Comic Con or figure something out, like getting," and I'm like, "Well, I can't get a late-minute press pass the whole Comic Con. I'm just coming in to do the Ash vs. Evil Dead thing. Can I get, like, a Stars badge, and I'll come in and do it, and then I'll leave? I don't need to go to the rest of the Comic Con." They were like, "No, we can't do that, but they're doing an interview down at Build, which is this little studio, almost like a public access thing, but it's an online thing, at a studio in New York, and they're going to be an audience there, and you'll be able to ask questions and meet them afterwards, and da-da-da-da-da." So I thought, great. So Kim and I went down to this event, this Build event, and sat in the front row. But on the way in, they all got out. Bruce Campbell, Dana DiLorenzo, and the rest of the cast, Ray Santiago and the rest of the cast, all got out of this SUV and were walking down towards the event. And outside the event, there was a red carpet and a cordoned off, and there were a lot of autograph signer collectors and looky-loos who, no interest in the show, didn't come into the event, didn't ask them anything. They just want, 15 8x10 signed so that they can, like, sell them on eBay, basically. And these guys are always at these events. Anyway, Dana saw me, and I introduced myself, and she was like, "Oh my God, John, what are you doing here? This is great." Da 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 da. Gave me a big hug, and was saying to Bruce, like, "Hey, Bruce, this is Jon Cross from the After Movie Diner," and he was sort of very dismissive of that, or like sarcastic or whatever, and I thought maybe it was just his shtick, so I was like, okay, whatever. So we went into the event, we sat in the front row, we asked some questions. It was a great time, it was a great Q&A, it was really funny, and da-da-da-da. Halfway through, Bruce Campbell did his thing where he gets up and gives a $1 bill to some fan in the audience who gets his question right, and Kim, who had up until that point had been a big fan, got the question right and got the $1 bill. Like, she was super excited. Like, he came down, shook her hand, gave her the $1 bill. It was like a moment. And she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this." Because she doesn't go to a lot of fan events, and she's not into the celebrity thing. It's not her thing. Never had been her thing. But, like, getting the $1 off Campbell was like a big deal, and it was a really nice moment. And I was really glad that the first one of these events that I was properly sort of taking her to, that had happened. And then afterwards, they did the walk again along the red carpet with the corner and people signing 8x10s and da-da-da-da-da. And when it got round to our corner again where we were standing, I said hey to Dana and Ray and stuff, and then Bruce Campbell came round. And I was like, "Hey, Bruce, could you gave my wife the $1 in the, or my girlfriend at the time, I guess, the $1 in the event. It would be great. Could you just sign the $1? And he's like, "I'm not signing a stinking $1, kid," or something like that. And I was like, no, you don't get it. Like, I've interviewed you, and I'm from the After Movie Diner, and it's my wife. We were inside, and you gave it to her. It was like a fan moment. Like, she answered the question right. He was like, "You shut up, kid. I'm not signing your fucking $1 or whatever. Get the fuck out." Like, he was like a complete jerk to me and Kim, and it completely, and yet he was, and I think to make matters worse, he was signing everyone else's 8x11s that nobody gave a shit about, that they were just going to fucking sell on eBay, and it didn't matter. And it was such a moment where it soured the rest of the day. And then it's kind of soured again. I wrote a long article on After Movie Diner when Ash vs. Evil Dead came out about how Bruce's personality at conventions and various things he'd said online and so on had sort of soured me to him, and it seemed like he was kind of becoming the jerk that he played on TV and so on. And then Ash vs. Evil Dead came out, and in interviews he seemed more humble again and talking about how he liked playing the character again and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a second chance. I like the show. I've always liked Bruce. I'm going to give him a second chance. I wrote a big, long article about how I'd give him a second chance, and for him and then for him at this event to do what he did was just, to me, especially as it was, if it had just been to me, I would have shrugged it off and been like, jerk, whatever, and walked away. But because he did it to Kim, it was like a big deal. And so I was just like, fuck that. And that line, never hold on to your heroes or whatever, had been kind of floating around in my head ever since. So that definitely played into this song. That's a very long story, but that played into this song. And then I kind of just expanded on that idea and the idea of just conversations you and I had about like heroes and people shouldn't have statues put up to them because no one's completely infallible and blah, 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 blah. So all that kind of pulled into
4 minutes of fantasticness, 4 minutes and 13 seconds of fantasticness.
But yeah.
And I say this all the time. I mean, I've listened to this album, I don't know, at least 5 times through already. And I barely know what any of the songs are about, including even Sometimes Life Is Like That. I've listened to that 30 times. I don't know what it's about. And it has nothing to do with you or your writing skills. The same goes for Paul McCartney songs and Bob Dylan songs. I just listen and I like the experience. And sometimes it takes me 10 years before I actually, like, it dawns on me what they're singing about. Is that the same for you? Is that, or what, like listening to other people's albums? Do you focus on what they're saying or do you just take in the experience?
I think it depends on who I'm listening to. I think there are certain bands that I am more interested lyrically in them, and there are other bands that I'm more interested in musically. I'm a big fan of Tom Waits, the Mountain Goats, and the Tragically Hip, all of whom lyrically I think are some of the best, if not the best, lyrical writers up there. And I do pay attention to what they're singing about, and the Tragically Hip are certainly the most confusing because there's a lot of references to Canada stuff that I don't necessarily get. He is also very poetic in the way he writes stuff, or very. But I do always sit and listen to a Tragically Hip song and imagine what it's about. So I try and say, well, I think this song is about this, and I think this line is about this, and I do try and do that with it. The Mountain Goats are a little bit more obvious. It's a little bit more emotional. And a little bit more personal, so I can kind of relate them to me in that regard. And then Waits is always kind of telling that kind of Americana story, which I can kind of dial into. But so we do, yeah. There are some bands that I kind of focus very heavily on the lyrics, but not in absence of the tune. The tune is always the thing that's carrying whatever the lyric is along. Like if the tune is terrible but the lyrics are great, I'm not necessarily going to listen to that song over and over again.
And let's just mention Mitch one more time. Really nice touches with the trumpet on this track.
Yeah, go download his album. Todd got overexcited.
Yeah, that's a fun one. That's a real fun one. All right, let's do another track. We get to decide.
No, not like that. Can you be yourself? But in a different way. Some parts we like, and some parts we don't. And we get to decide which go and which stay. Yeah, we get to decide. We get to decide.
So we're back to the a little bit more like the sound of the first 4 tracks after veering off into a little bit more of an acoustic melodic thing. And I love that opening line. Just be yourself. No, not like that.
Well, that's life. I mean, isn't that life? Like, you're constantly told by either, cheap and awful inspirational quotes, memes, or posters, or you're told by self-help, phony self-help gurus, or you're told by anyone, like, just be yourself. But actually, when you go out into the wide world and just be yourself, you're told routinely, no, not like that. Like, could you, you know what I mean? Now, I happen to work in a job where, for whatever reason, I can be more of myself than I have been in previous roles. But there's still days where I'm like, guys, come on, this is me. You know me. You trust me. This is not like, whatever you think I just said or whatever you think I've just proposed is obviously not what I mean. I'm obviously being sarcastic or funny or hyperbole or whatever. And sometimes you just need to explain that. It's the same online. Like, I'll say stuff that I think is just a throwaway joke and it can have everyone up in arms. And I'm like, guys, come on. You know me. This is just me. Like, this isn't just, so my life philosophy is definitely, and also coming from the UK to America, there's a big shift about like what you can say and do in the UK and how you can be and say in the UK to what you can say and do in the US. And it's too long to go into now kind of all the different like small differences, but enough that sometimes I think the balance in life is working out how to be yourself, but within the framework that everyone else is comfortable with.
Yeah, great point all around, and good song. Definitely a little bit darker, a little more edgy. Kind of.
Well, because
I get
the we in the song is not. It's not you
it's
and
not
me.
You. Yeah, you're doing it from the point of view of our overlords.
Yes. Yes, definitely. That someone else gets to decide. This notion of free will, Matt, has gone far enough.
Well, we have
nonsense.
Free will, but we must keep it in check because we're not in charge.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, and Matt, the funny thing is, not that I would go like robbing banks or taking craps on sidewalk or doing anything like horribly awful to society. But
yeah,
even
you just want to take your shirt off more frequently than you're allowed to. I get it.
No, nobody needs me to do that. No, I do not want to do that at all. It's more about just, at the moment, everyone is very, very, very cautious about what they say and how they are. And that is beneficial if it is leading to a better and politer situation, but it's not. So what do we do with that fact, I think, is also in play there.
Let's listen to a little bit of A Life on Loan by Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures.
I don't think you need all the things you think you need. I don't think you want to plead guilty to this. There'll be other things down the road, other things we were told and we were sure, other things that others may now miss. And you and I will outlast all the confusion and the greener grass, all the people who don't know their arse from their elbow. And you and I will endure all the enraged and all the impure, and we will be remembered wherever we choose to go.
This is a sneaky great song in the middle of the album here,
Yeah.
It's just slowly building. I love how that piano comes in, kind of acting as like the bass for that part at least. And a great sound, great production.
And I wrote it in about 10 minutes. It was one of those that it just came out of me.
Yeah, because it's got energy. That's like the driving force of it is its energy. So
It's also
you don't
one
need
of
a lot of time for that.
It's also one of those things. I think it's Waits that talks about it, where he talks about like songs float through the air, and occasionally you need to know when to kind of pluck one down. And I know what he means when he kind of talks like that, because sometimes that first verse that I'd written, I don't think you need all the things you think you need. I don't think you should plead guilty to that. Those lines came to me, and I was kind of typing them out on my phone, and I'm like, these. First of all, the lyrics and the thoughts behind the song fit perfectly with what I see the theme of the album to be, but also I'm like, this needs to be written and recorded right now. I can't go away and come back and record this. This song, for whatever reason, developed in this room at this time. If I ignore it, I lose it, and it's weird how stuff is like that. Now that it's on tape and recorded and out there, I could replicate it. But had I just gone, no, I'm in the middle of mixing, I'm not going to record this song, I'm going to put it aside and come back to it, it never would have been this good. Yeah.
The songwriter who lives across the street would have grabbed it.
Yeah. No, completely. And it's funny, like, I don't believe in the supernatural, or I don't believe in necessarily religion or anything, but I believe in love and creativity, because they are forces that I have witnessed, I've felt, I've been a part of. They are things that, for whatever reason, appear external of ourselves sometimes. I think some people are stenographers, and they're able to take whatever that vibe is and put it down on paper, and some can do it better than others. And I just think that if that stuff isn't put down on paper, it either gets wasted in the great ether, or, like you say, someone else grabs it and puts it down, and then you miss your chance.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we have the voice memo app on our phone for a reason, folks.
Yeah.
Use it because it does go away. I've been in my own bathroom at 3 a.m, whisper singing into my phone, like, God, can't lose this, can't forget it,
Well, one of your favorite songs on is it Bad Time Banjalele with the heat pipes and Why Won't Someone Dance With Me?
It's not on that album. It's on
Catch Up or Don't.
Catch Up or Don't. Yeah.
See if I can. That is recorded. The reason why the heat pipes are blaring is like it's 5:30 in the morning. I just wrote the song, and if I didn't record it, it would have disappeared.
Yeah. Let's hear a little bit of Crystal's Missing, which is written by your lovely wife, Kim. Lyrics by her.
Lyrics by Kim.
And she handed them over to you, and you created this masterpiece, yeah?
Yeah, so I started work on the album, like, properly, in earnest, as they say, once I got my electric guitar. And while I was noodling one day on my new electric one weekend, Kim was like, I think I've written some lyrics. Would you sort of put music to these? And I did, and loved them, and they didn't need much sort of moving around or tweaking. I think I kind of put them verse, chorus. Like, I found what the verse was and what the chorus was, but outside of that, they came right off the presses as they were, and they're absolutely wonderful. They're lovely. I love that on this album there's one where I wrote the lyrics and you wrote the tune, and then one where Kim wrote the lyrics and I wrote the tune. Like, I love those trade-offs, and with the help of the wonderful Nick Console on keys and DJ Narthex, Gary Hornseth on guitar, this just hits it out of the park on every minute.
Let's hear it.
We didn't buy this chandelier. When we arrived, it was here, reflecting shadows on the wall. The antique glamour to us it calls. This is home for now. Our colors colors constantly move through. Shades change depending on time's hue. Constellations kissing, even with crystals missing. This is home for now. Dark bed, stained glass, vinyl, bar cards, cityscapes, movies, all this, you and me.
Oh, what a great sound! The keys come in at just the right time. They add these great flavor. Way to go, DJ Narthex, with the atmospheric guitar stuff. Wow.
Well, DJ Narthek's guitar is over the chorus. He does those boom, kind of like long-held, sustained, heavier electric things to kind of like emphasize the chorus. The two guitars you're hearing up front are me playing the finger-picked style stuff. But DJ
I take
Narthex
it back,
comes in.
Gary. I take it back. I take back the compliment.
No, he added, it was funny. I sent a bunch of songs out and people fell in love with this and way back here, they were the ones that people really wanted to contribute to. And his guitar over the chorus, he just wanted to give the chorus just a little bit of an uplift, like a different type of sound. This was before Nick even did the keyboard. So this was when it was just all guitar. And Gary thought, you know what, you could probably add a bit of emphasis here and elevate the chorus a bit more than you're doing. And he was totally right. And then when Nick came in and then added piano and then a little bit of organ and chorus over the last chorus, it really just, wow, that last chorus is sweet and lifting and soaring and just fantastic. Everything working together.
And hey, Kim, way to go, Kim, on those lyrics. Those are nice and evocative and right to the point, and just really good.
Well, what I liked about it was that she's in very simple terms describing our new apartment, what was at the time our new apartment's front living room, but she does it with a kind of poetic atmosphere and a poetic slant, and incorporates some nice little metaphors in there. And I love the idea of it being home for now, like the idea that home is not the permanence. It's wherever we tend to be, but it's rather than saying it that way, she just went, "This is home for now," and I love that. Like that's a little kind of poetic, emotional nod that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of. So that's what I love about the song. I love that kind of.
It's great. It's hard to let go of your creation and let other people mess with it, but turns out it's quite rewarding, and this album is proof, and all the collaborating I've done with people over the years is proof. You just kind of, sometimes you're like, wait, that's not what I envisioned, and you get a little nervous and possessive, but no, throw it out there, and it opens it up, and it makes it more interesting.
Oh, yeah, well, I remember when we did Wake Up, It's Not Over, the double album with Jay Mayo, and the first half of that album is done at Jay Mayo's house, and he did all the production on it. The idea was that I would write and play the songs, and then I would hand the songs over to him to produce them. Those were some agonizing hours waiting for Jay to finish mixing and producing each of the tracks and da-da-da-da-da, and hearing them and being like, I kind of thought we would go this way with them and that way with them. It's taken me 3 albums of collaborating to get to the point where I'm a lot better than I was back then. And bless him, Jay Mayo is so patient and wonderful that he never held it against me. But I'm apologetic to this day.
What I find is, like, at first it can be jarring because you heard something in your head, but then listen to it a few times, and then you get to the point where you forget about what you heard in your head, and what the other people ended up doing turns out to be right. So it's not something you're going to recognize the first time through. Folks, we can't listen to every track because this podcast is already longer than the album, I think. But first off, get this album. It's amazing. Where Our Hearts Can Be a Shambles by Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures. And just check out this album. But your favorite podcast host, folks, is a brilliant songwriter and a brilliant musician. That he just, in addition to all of his accomplishments, he's got this really impressive body of work that I love and you will love or you should love, dear listeners. So check it out. He provides a free podcast multiple times per month that we all love to listen to, and all he asks in return, listen to his stupid songs. All right, come on.
By the time this airs, the album will be on Spotify. It's already on Deezer, Tidal, Apple Music, and iHeartRadio. It's also on Bandcamp. It's 17 tracks. A lot of them are over 5 minutes long. It's only $8. That's less than 50 cents a track. So break that down by minutes. It's nothing. It's peanuts.
Yeah, it's nothing. All right, we're going to go lightning round. But trust me, this album's amazing. Let's hear a little bit of One-Eyed Dog after Armageddon. Great title, first off, but also cool sound. I really like the sound going on here. I especially like what you did with the vocals there. You're double tracking. Is it double or is it even triple track going on there?
So, no, it's double track, but what's funny is normally I do a guide track with just my voice and the acoustic, and then I record over it and do all the other things. I so liked the guide track as the first track, but couldn't pull the vocal and the acoustic apart because they're all on one track, that I simply layered on. I Jeff Lynne'd it, like he did with the Real Love and what was the other Beatles one?
Free as a Bird.
Free as a Bird. I took it as if they're my guide. That's my guide demo, but I'm just going to layer on. I'm just going to do a Jeff Lynne, and I just hold double track the vocals, a few more acoustic guitars, the bass, the drums, the harmonica, and then Nick came on with that amazing organ. Put it all together, and I feel like you have a sort of later sounding George Harrison, Wilbury-esque, Tom Petty kind of vibe to the whole thing. But again, its own thing as well on top of all of that. But I love it.
Yeah, great work. Great work. Do that, I mean, I love it all, but especially just for the sake of variety and on an album that's so long, it's cool how you veer off. We maintain a certain vibe throughout, but there's these little off ramps into slightly different styles that just make it a good experience all the way through. And talk about a new style for the album. What did I call this on my text to you last night? I think I said it was part No Surrender, part Johnny 99 by Springsteen. I'm loving the key changes in this song. It's called This Is Not an Exit. And when I heard this, I was just like, whoa.
Born out the back of a rundown shack in rough and ready California, there was a gas station fire. He found himself a hire, wearing overalls and a fedora. To make a life for himself, he asked some deeper questions and find somewhere to stand. He counted the time underneath the sign that says this is not an exit. No, no, no. This is not an exit. This is not the end. This is
so great. I like it. It feels like a little like overdrive on your vocals too.
There is, yeah. There's some
I like
distortion on that. So the name of the song comes from at the back of Mercury Lounge in the Lower East Side of New York City, just along from Katz's Deli. Right on the back of the stage, there is a big sign that says, "This is not an exit." And it sat with me. And what's weird is if you Google that phrase, "This is not an exit," it's apparently also a phrase that appears in Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho. I didn't know this till after I wrote the song. But in American Psycho, apparently at the end of the book, Patrick Bateman is in a club in New York and sees this sign that says, "This is not an exit." So I don't know if that's referring to the same Mercury Lounge sign that I saw, but it could quite possibly. Not that that really plays into the song at all. The song is just I think the only song on the album that's because One-Eyed Dog After Armageddon is also this, but it's a fantasy story. It doesn't exist. It's not based on anything that happened to me. It's not really about anything. It's this story song. It's very Dylan-esque, Springsteen-esque kind of story song. The key changes came from, there is a track on the Pete Seeger Sessions band by Springsteen where you hear him in the song shout like "up to D," and then everyone like goes up to D and carries on playing, and then whatever. And I was so obsessed with that idea that I'm like, well, this is a very simple rock and roll song. If I don't go up a key, where's it going to go? It's just going to go nowhere. So I did this thing where like I go up to D, and I think there's even a bit later on where I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go into like the next key change.
Yeah.
To the point where I think it changes key like 8 times during the song, and I had so much fun doing it that it was just silly. But the song is silly anyway. But then what I loved doing was taking the middle 8 or the chorus and making it essentially like a kind of rocked up 50s doo-wop kind of song, because in the middle there's like shalalalas, which again is kind of a Springsteen thing, but also kind of this 50s throwback thing. The song has lyrics that are very kind of, I guess, Petty-esque or Waits-esque, this kind of story about these different characters who all think they're coming to the end of something in their life, but actually it's not. It's actually a new beginning. And yeah, I just sort of threw it all together into the soup and came out with this, and couldn't be happier with the way it came out. Both you and Dr. Console think this is one of the best tracks on the album, so I'm very chuffed by that.
Yeah, and you buried it deep on track 15.
The two best songs, You're My Last Chance and This Is Not an Exit, kind of way, way down in the list.
Well, Wedding Song is quite good too. Is this what you sang at your wedding, or?
Yeah, so Wedding Song is a song I wrote for Kim at my wedding. I had this idea of performing a song rather than doing a speech at the wedding, especially when I found out that at the summer camp, they had like this kind of makeshift stage and sound system. Then I thought, because we were going to have Nick there and Jay there and my friends there and other things, why don't we try and get more musicians on this song? So I stood up to play the ukulele for this song that I'd written for Kim. And then slowly, Jay Mayo got up and played his acoustic guitar. And then Nick came along with his melodica. And then Jim, Mal, and John Wallace showed up playing percussion. So what I tried to do in this recording of the song, because it only existed as a demo, then it exists on my wedding video, and now it exists as a proper version, was to ape that a little bit. So to do it almost as we did it in the live version. But there's a few more drums in here, and I think there's some bass and some other stuff in here. But basically, this is the song as I performed it at my wedding. It's a little faster as well, but only a little bit.
Folks, I was there, and when you hear the groom performed a song for his wife, you just start rolling your eyes and you say, oh, God, it must have been insufferable. Au contraire, this was gosh darn magical. Jon Cross hit exactly the right note. He's up there giving this great performance, and then suddenly from the crowd, one by one, the other guys join him up on stage, and I'm getting goosebumps just describing it. It was so cool. Everyone was just so, like, you never felt so much joy and happiness and warmth in one room as you did watching this. And it wasn't like when you think about that, you're like, oh, it's gonna be some sappy, heartfelt moment where I can't stand moments like that, because I don't know why I get I get squeamish very easily.
Right, yeah.
But Jon Cross hit just the right notes. Obviously, there's emotion to it, but it was light and happy, and having all the guys around him singing, it was just like, yeah, wow, what a nice moment.
Yeah, too much sentiment, and I just want to run out of the room. But it felt right at my wedding to do this. So yeah.
Let's hear a little.
I can't believe you made it all here to the place where the waiting has an end, where we get to share our hearts and our future in the place where I married my best friend. And I can't believe you, my love, was there waiting at the place where my life took a sharp bend. And you took my hand, and you took my heart, and I fell in love with my new best friend. I can't tell you what I said, I can't tell you my action that set me down here in your arms, in your life. I can't believe my love, I can't be sure I deserve it.
So a funny story about that, Matt, is that Leslie Kim's sister has a cell phone video of the song, and as I started playing it, one of her relatives that was stood just behind her went, "Oh yeah, I love this song." And he thought it was some other song. I don't know what other song it sounds like, but he was convinced that he knew what this song was, and I'm like, "You don't know this song, mate. I just wrote it." So.
Do you were you nervous up there performing it in front of everyone?
No, I was made more nervous by all the mess ups with the mics and everything prior to that. Like, I thought it had all been sorted out. I had asked people to have it ready. And then when I got up, the fact that it had to kind of be fixed and twiddled with was starting to upset me a little bit. Because I was like, I wanted this smooth flow from the speech into the song. But
well, it sounded great. And like I said, it was a really cool moment. Well done. And great rendition of it here. And then, if you write a masterpiece, you just drop it as the 17th song of a sprawling album,
But I released it as the first music video, though, so people would hear it.
Oh, yeah. Great work on that video. That was cool. So let's listen to a little bit of You're My Last Chance. And it really is. It gives me that Dylan, the Dylan Time Out of Mind album and Oh Mercy album, where it's a really cinematic, echoey landscape that I get here. Let's listen to a little bit of You're My Last Chance.
There's a place out there, it's in the cracks and in the corners, it's where all others will ignore us, where we can delicately stand all the things that we want back. There's a space out there among the briars and the brambles.
Yeah, good. You did it again there, where the keyboard comes in, in the second verse for those kind of lower-ish notes. I like that touch. But yeah, wow, this is an epic. When did you write this one?
This was, I think, one of the first songs. Let me go back through my lyrics. I think this is one of the first ones that I wrote for the album. quite a long time ago. And it's certainly one that I've had recorded for a long time. Yeah, this was written March 30th of last year. Was the first time I wrote down the phrase, "You're my last chance." And in fact, I'm looking at it now. Not last year. Wow. Okay, sorry. No, March 30th of 2018, I wrote down the phrase, "You're my last chance." And then in October of last year, I came up with the other bits. And then "The Paint is Peeling" was from another bit. And then the "He couldn't half play some mean castanets" bit was from another thing. So it's a mixture of early 2018 having the idea and then taking like a year and a half to kind of finally get it all put together. But this was a song where the lyrics were essentially pulled together from 3 other sets of lyrics that I was writing. I had like 3 half-finished songs, and I'm like, I don't like any of these by themselves, but if I throw them together, they might work.
Yeah, and then listening to it, I'm like, oh, how many rhymes is he going to go for with this brunettes and castanet? You know,
Right.
I love it.
Pathologically obsessed with brunettes.
That's a Dylan thing that he in a few songs where he just keeps on going. You know,
Yeah.
especially on Blonde too, I think. But yeah, nice touch, way to end it. And you finish the album, and it's been 17 tracks, and I'm not joking, folks. You want to start again when it's over.
Well, Johnny Unicorn adding, again, what feels to me like a George Harrison Cloud9 era horns over the chorus. That bop, 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 the kind of pop horns over the chorus. It just elevates this song. I don't know what I would have done without those horns. This song would have been fine. It would have been melodic, and the lyrics I love, but the pop horns over the chorus, for me, just when I hear it, I'm like, oh my God, that's like Harrison and Lynn working together in the 90s.
Well, you did it, John. Congratulations. And, just, I don't know about you. I finished an album, and I want marching bands. I want to be on the cover of the Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
And
Tell me about it.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And there's a few moments of devastation.
Yes.
And then just back to the next. Is that where you are right now?
Sort of where I'm at right now. You're not even kidding. About 10 days out from I knew the album was going to be dropped on my birthday, Feb 12th. And about 10 days out, I knew that I had all these collaborators that I could kind of put video and imagery out around that. I had all those photographs I was talking about earlier that could kind of help explain the album. And I said to Kim, I'm like, if I'm going to do this properly, do I need to set up my own social feeds for all these things? I already had the Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures Twitter feed, but like, should I have an Instagram thing and a Facebook thing, and should it all be unique, or should I just do it through the diner like I do a lot of the time? And she's like, no. If you're serious about this and you really want to make this album something like a gateway album for other people to discover your older stuff, and you really want to do this seriously, do it all, get a whole new string of social feeds and plan it. Like, do 2 feeds a day, two posts a day, make the posts engaging and personal and storytelling and, bold imagery, and don't overdo it and don't make it all sell, just kind of do this thing. So I started to do this thing, and I planned it out, and I had the 8 collaborators, and I had the music video that was dropping, and I had these imagery from Secondhand Scene that I was talking about earlier, and I was putting them out twice a day, every day on social, and they were getting likes and responses and retweets and posts, and people on Instagram were like, oh, I'm so excited for the album. And then the music video dropped, and people were like, oh my God, we love this. It's like Leonard Cohen and the Kinks and the Rolling Stones, and people were just like naming all my favorite people and saying that this song was like it. And I'm like, wait till they get a load of the album. Like, I got all excited. And then I put the album up on Bandcamp at like midnight of Tuesday the 11th, and so that everyone could wake up on Wednesday morning and the album would be there. And I did a social message about it, and and I've kept the social going on Instagram and Twitter and everything, 2 posts a day with new things, and as the album becomes available on other platforms and blah 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 blah, kept pushing it. The first day about 7 or 8 people bought the album, so that felt fantastic. And then nothing.
Yeah.
And then I didn't expect it to sell 100 copies, but like there was just this build up to it being released. It got released. I got very excited about it, and then nothing. And I know that that's down to like I have to keep making people excited about it in different ways, but yeah.
Well, if you're gonna do one angle, I thought of is. This is the song I wrote and performed on my for my wife on my wedding day. You know that I don't know if you've already done that, but I feel like a lot of people would be curious to click on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I'm once the album is up on Spotify, and I can share listen to links, then I will go through the individual songs with imagery and a link to accompany it. At the moment, because it's up on Bandcamp, I don't know what happened, but DistroKid, like it used to be, you uploaded it to DistroKid, and within 3 or 4 days, it was on all the streaming platforms. Now it took 4 or 5 days just for DistroKid to send it to all the other platforms. So I'm a little. They didn't tell me it was going to be that long, so I'm a little annoyed by that because I put it up on Sunday to DistroKid with the idea that certainly by this weekend, or this weekend just gone, that it would be up everywhere. And it's only now started to hit the streaming sites today. So I'm kind of a bit annoyed about that. It will have been almost an entire week by the time the album's been out on Bandcamp for it to hit the other stores. But that's fine. It'll give me another chance to push it once it hits Spotify, which is still the largest streaming service despite all these other platforms. So once it's out on Spotify, I'll kind of do the album's out again kind of thing, and then can start to talk about the individual songs. I'm also going to be doing some live shows, hopefully, so that'll be some social content once I start playing live. Yeah. And even if it's the odd open mic or whatever. And then also in future weekends, I'm doing a music video with Charlie. I'm going up to Connecticut, and Charlie's shooting a music video.
Oh, nice.
So if you want to be involved in that, I'll let you know. But that's happening. Charlie and I chatted briefly about it on the other day at my party and on Twitter. So that's happening. Charlie's going to do a fully professional music video for me, so I can't wait. And then there's other stuff dotted out throughout the year. That, you know, with online albums, they don't just have a day to make their impact. They have a lifetime. So.
The release date is not the finish line. It is the starting line, ladies and gentlemen. And you got to keep on telling yourself that. But if it's as unsuccessful as many of my best albums, the good news is you're in the same boat as legends like Llewyn Davis. So let's pick up and discuss that.
Yeah, no, just one quick retraction or change of information. I had said that Jay Mayo does not sing backup on Way Back Here, and he does, but not till later in the song. The backup I was referring to in yesterday's discussion was my backing vocals at the beginning of the song. Jay does it later on in the song.
That's right, folks. This is the second day of recording. I'd just like to say, I think I picked that up when you said it to me, when you said it. I think I understood what you meant even then, but it's good to clarify.
Very good to clarify. One does not want to minimize Jay Mayo's incredible contribution.
Yeah. He's important.
He is very important. Yes, he is.
Yes.
Jay Mayo. All right. With that... Let us talk. I also realized that I've just messed up your beautiful segue that you did last night, but I'm sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
But let us talk about the film that Wikipedia weirdly describes as a 2013 French-American black comedy drama film written, directed, produced, and edited by Joel and Ethan Coen. That's an exact quote from Wikipedia. I don't know what the French-American thing is. I don't know what the black comedy drama film is. That's what it says.
I like film. That's delightful. Well, the thing about Wikipedia is that anyone can write it, and the people in charge do a great job of keeping tabs on changes that are made and getting things back. But sometimes some things slip through, like the film. The French thing, I'm assuming some of the producers were somehow from France or something.
All right, okay.
But I don't know. And I've watched it at least 15 times, and I have a few issues with it that I definitely want to mention. But for the most part, I'm just happy with it. The more I see it, the more I like it. And and it's about a struggling musician. We can relate with that, right, John?
We can definitely relate to that. What's interesting is it's also a movie that sort of, well, certainly with Oscar Isaac, Carey Mulligan, and Adam Driver, had some actors in it that I feel got much bigger right after this movie. Like, I know Oscar Isaac had been in a bunch of stuff before, but after this movie, he's in Star Wars, and he becomes like Oscar Isaac. He becomes this big thing.
Right. And Driver, more so, yeah.
Adam Driver. He's got to have been in Girls around this time as well, which I know was a big thing for people, because this was 2013, and Girls has got to be around there sometime. Girls started in 2012, so he was definitely on the cusp of becoming a bigger deal.
Nice.
But it's one of those movies. It's got up and comers in it. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and Llewyn Davis is almost up and comer, throughout the movie, and he's not entirely likable,
No.
He's definitely, he's funny. He's a good performer, but he can't get out of his own way. And Carey Mulligan even says it at some point, like, don't you need to try, in order to make it in the business. You need to put some effort in. Whereas he seems to just feel like it should be given to him, sort of, right?
Yeah, I've got a question for you. How? Because what I came away from inside Llewyn Davis, and I've probably seen it 2 or 3 times, is that I don't think the Coen Brothers are saying this guy is this amazing performer, this amazing singer-songwriter whose stubbornness and nonsense gets in the way. I think he's, because the whole bit at the end with like Dylan showing up, I think is meant to say, no, this is the guy everyone's going to pay attention to. Because all Llewyn Davis seems to do is sing other people's songs since his partnership. And I've got this idea, no one, whenever he plays for anybody, it's not like people are, what am I trying to say? The question I had for you is, do you think Llewyn Davis himself is this like incredible performer that just isn't getting his due? Or do you think he thinks he's this like true musician guy, but really he's ten a penny? Like there's any number of people who can like play folk songs.
I think he's good. I think he's far above average, if not very good. I don't know, but I think he represents like just like being being a little bit off in terms of opportunity. Like he represents the 1950s folk, like 1950s and early 60s approach to folk, and he's just maintaining that approach. He even, he's like, these songs have been around forever. They're not young, they're not old, blah, blah, blah. And he just wants to be that. And the freight train that is Bob Dylan is just going to come in and push him out of the way. And so I think, I like the music that he's making. I think it sounds good.
No, I agree. And I think one of the geniuses of the film, or one of the good things about the film, is that it's not comical. And it's not that when he plays, it's not good, but he thinks it's amazing. I don't really mean it like that. I mean, he's good, but is he special? Do you know what, like, has he got the thing? I don't think the movie is saying that he has the thing. I think that when I think that the tragedy of the movie, or the tragedy of Llewyn Davis, is he had the thing when he was in a double act with his singer-songwriter partner.
Right.
And then him killing himself means Oscar is this, he's a great practitioner of folk music, plays very well, sings very well, but is not exceptional and is not, doesn't
He's out of
work.
luck. Yeah, he's just out of luck.
Doesn't
too,
work
you know?
as a solo artist.
Right. Yeah.
But what we constantly see in the movie is his pride and his belief in like true musicianship stop him from becoming a session musician. Essentially, all through the movie, that they keep trying to push him to become a session musician, or to become like part of a group or part of a trio or part of a thing, and he constantly is like, no, that's not what I want to do, and he kind of constantly shoots himself in the foot. I think
it's sort of it's a pure, like he seems to have a pretty pure opinion of what folk music is, you know, and he seems to approach it with you know, reverence and whatnot, and definitely with stubbornness.
Yeah. And he makes all the wrong decisions. You know for a fact that stupid song, Hey Mr. Kennedy, that Justin Timberlake is singing, you know that's going to be a big hit. And you know
it's
when
so
he
great
says...
when the guy's like, there are going to be big royalties on that, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's just so many great little moments. Yeah, just he makes every wrong decision and things don't go his way and he's a jerk. And, he, you know, so he's a victim of himself, also just a victim of his circumstances. It makes me happy that, you know, we don't live in an age where you necessarily have to bow down to gatekeepers the way that it was. I would say it was just the only option back then, you know?
Yeah, totally. No, you had to play live and you had to be seen by, you know, A&R men and club owners and record label people. He's clearly in with a group of people that he could piggyback off, but he doesn't want to do that. And no one wants him outside of the double act. Essentially, the movie, for people who haven't seen it quickly, is about a homeless folk musician in the very early 60s who is living
homeless by choice, though. We should throw that. It's not like he's actually sleeping on the street. It's just a couch surfing. Can we call him a couch?
He's couch surfing in New York City with the last few people who will tolerate him.
Yeah,
because you know, I think the empathy that the Coen brothers give him, the reason why we don't hate Llewyn Davis just outright, is the fact that he is obviously still grieving and feeling the effects of his partner having committed suicide. I think that adds to the empathy we feel for him, because it feels like no one else is really giving him that break, except maybe the older couple whose cat he loses.
The Gorfines.
The Gorfines, that's it. So yeah, he's couch surfing around New York and playing in the Village. He has a few friends who are seemingly making it more than he is. He doesn't want to compromise. He has deference and love for pure folk music. He makes one last ditch effort to go to Chicago because his representation in New York is basically stiffing him on any money that he might have, and he's not getting anywhere with him. So he makes this last ditch effort to take a road trip to Chicago, by, I guess, essentially like just tagging a ride with these two people who are driving cross country, John Goodman and his
chauffeur, if you will, I guess.
Valet. Yeah. The chauffeur valet guy, by the way, looks like Air Force Ricky.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
He looks like Kyle Cochin's role in Freaky Farley. Which is one of my favorites. So I like that. He looks like a 50s greaser, essentially, and speaks very little. And then John Goodman is a bit of a ne'er-do-well. I mean, he's a heroin addict, but he's a bit of a ne'er-do-well in terms of, like, he's probably a gambler. He hints at talking about gambling.
Well, he's a singer. He's a jazz singer, I think.
Oh, okay.
Am I right?
Okay. I thought he was sort of a
Don't quote
grifter, I thought. A little bit, maybe. I don't know.
For some reason, I thought he was a jazz singer, but I don't know.
I
That's my main quibble with the movie is that the drive to Chicago. It's like, I guess they're trying to get across the point that it's a long, monotonous drive, and they're doing it by having like a long, monotonous scene. You know,
Right.
like if the time spent in the car was half as long, I'd be much happier, because it just felt like the movie just kind of stopped, and we're literally just driving with these people. You know, and I don't know. Did that bother you or not so much?
No, I'm fine with that bit, more or less. I think it bothers me. I think the whole sort of heroin stuff kind of doesn't need to be in there. That whole bit,
that
which seems odd to me. And I mean, unless it's based on a real character they've read about, or unless it's based on sort of some stories of the road that they've heard about. I don't mind the idea of the drive to Chicago taking a while, and I obviously love John Goodman. I also love the way he pronounces ukulele when he says ukulele.
Yeah.
When he says, it's not just strumming 3 chords on an ukulele, which is probably my favorite line in the movie. But yeah, I know what you mean. But it's his last ditch effort. He's got to go a long way. You know, the weather is interminably cold and snowing.
Yeah. And his cold feet and whatnot. You definitely feel the struggle that he's, that he's going through. And, he goes all that way to play for the guy. And the guy just says, like, oh, you should get back together with your partner, Yeah. Not knowing that the partner's dead. But it's good. Like, I feel the desperation, you see the stubbornness for sure all the way through. It's like he could say, like, yes, I'll be part of a trio, but he just won't do it. And I'm stubborn. I relate to that.
Yeah, no, I get that. I also feel like maybe the Coen Brothers are trying to write a movie that is a folk song. So the idea, folk songs can often be about tough times. They can often be about road trips. They can often be about, at one point he goes through this whole rigmarole to try and become a merchant seaman, which feels like a kind of folky thing. I don't know whether that's something, but it feels like they're trying to do different kind of folk song beats throughout the movie, because the movie's kind of in 3 parts. You have the first part, which sets up his life in New York, with the cat and a friend of his wife, Justin Timberlake's wife, played by Carey Mulligan, who may or may not be carrying his baby. The fact that he finds out that an ex of his actually had a baby instead of having an abortion, so that when he's coming back from Chicago, he drives through Ohio and almost stops to see her, but decides not to. And then you have the third half of the third act of the movie, which is the whole running around trying to become a merchant seaman again, and reconnecting with his sister, and finding out his father is having this rotten time in this old people's home, and all that sort of stuff in the third act. And then it kind of comes back around again, and he ends up just doing what he's always been doing. And I think that what's interesting about the movie is, like I say, he's not writing about any of those experiences. He's not trying to write a song, or, he's playing the same 5 folk songs he's always played. Whereas I feel like here are all these experiences that he's kind of either thrusting upon himself or are being thrust upon him that would make perfect fodder for a folk song, and he never writes it. Instead, Bob Dylan comes along, and whether Bob Dylan has lived that life or not, starts to write about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great analysis. But and the question is, like, who's right? Is Dylan right for writing these new folk songs that are whatever they are, or is Llewyn Davis right for maintaining the tradition? I guess he's just doing a different thing, but just what's popular is gonna change. It's just like it's just looming over Llewyn's head. It's because he's gonna stubbornly keep doing his thing. Then the tide is gonna shift in the opposite direction, and he's just gonna be left out to dry. And it seems the filmmakers are just kind of like sitting back and watching it and say, kind of like, yep. And we'll leave Llewyn here, bleeding in an alleyway.
Right, and I think that maybe the fact that the Coen Brothers bookend it with it's seemingly the same person. But...
It is the same. It's the same. Yeah. And that bothers me too. Like, I don't understand, why do they start with a flash forward, into the alleyway and then go back 7 days only to return to it? Like,
but do they make it clear that it's going back 7 days?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same guy. I mean, they show you.
But I mean, does he? What I mean is, like, do we see that scene at the beginning and then it say 7 days earlier?
No. So I don't know why they do things like that in movies. Like, they want to be mysterious and whatnot. And meanwhile, I'm just like, what? How is this? They trick you into thinking it's the next morning, but it's really about a week earlier.
But I wonder if it's not meant to say. I think it's two different occasions that play out the same way, and I think the reason why they do that is to say, if you don't change anything, then nothing changes. You have to be the instigator of your own change, I think. I don't know whether I'm reading too much into that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right about that. You're right about what they're saying, but I'm pretty sure that I'm 99.87% sure that
it's
that's
exactly
the
same scene. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's the same guy, and he talks about like what he did to his wife. The guy's mad at him because he drunkenly interrupted the old lady's performance, on the auto harp.
Yeah.
And listeners, let us know. Let's find out who's right.
347-669-0053. Call the After Movie Diner. Is it the same scene, and does the rest of the movie play out 7 days prior, or is it meant to be two different scenes but are so similar in order to state that he is doomed to live the same life over and over again?
Like I said, either way, they're saying, like, this man is doomed. This man is just doomed. He's like going through the however many levels of hell there are, like he's just paying his penance for being a jerk all the time,
right?
And so you're right about that. And but let me just rant real quick. One more.
No, rant.
Okay. Assuming that indeed it is the same scene, I just don't get it why filmmakers feel the need to start, like, they're so worried that their movie is going to bore you that they're like, let's just show a scene from the end of the movie at the beginning, just so people know, like, ooh, exciting things are going to happen. It happens so frequently in movies that you like, something dramatic happens and then it's like, how did we get to here? When it's just wasting my time. Every scene should be shown once. It's really unnecessary.
So are you not a fan? I think one of the earliest movies I can think of doing that is Sunset Boulevard, which literally starts with the narrator dead in a swimming pool and ends with the narrator dead in a swimming pool. Sorry to spoil that for everybody. It's a movie from 70 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
If you didn't know that the guy in the swimming pool at the beginning of the movie is the guy narrating the movie, then I'm really sorry about that for people who haven't seen Sunset Boulevard. But I'm
okay. Yeah, I'm okay. I wouldn't do it, I guess. I probably wouldn't do it, but Sunset Boulevard, there's no mystery about it. Like, he's narrating and like, that's me, dead in the pool. Bet you wonder how this happened. Let me tell you. So it's like, at least they're upfront about it, but
Right.
still, it just feels like you're scared. You're like, I might lose them if I don't pull this stupid trick. You know, I want to be told the story from start to finish.
Matt Farley and the Agency for Chronologic Films Only, please. Chronological films only. None of this chopping up the narrative.
Just tell it in order. Look,
Tell it in
it was
order.
exciting when Pulp Fiction came out and interesting. Like, oh wow, it's out of order. How about that? But just like we don't have to do that.
Well, also
But
because the story
Yeah.
of Pulp Fiction would not be interesting the other way. Like, if you just went chronologically with Pulp Fiction, you would just be like, all right, get on with it.
I have a soft spot for Pulp Fiction, and I saw it when I was 16.
I love Pulp Fiction. I saw it again, myself when I was 14 in a midnight screening. But I think if you try and unravel that movie, because the beginning and end of the film is in the middle, and the end and the what am I saying? And the middle of the film is the beginning and end, sort of.
Yeah.
If you went chronologically, and I think he cuts it up in the way that he cuts it up to make it an interesting narrative. Otherwise, it would just be a story in which it would just be a stream of consciousness in which stuff happened and ended with Jules's death, essentially.
I would have been, if they told it in order, I would have been just fine. I still would have been. But what I love about Inside Llewyn Davis, other than the flashback quality of it and the long car ride, is just I'm happy in every scene. I think pretty much every scene's funny. Like, even no matter how, like, I mean, when the dad poops his pants in the while he's playing for him, I mean that is some dark humor. But I mean, it's again being just like he's like Job or something, and just every bad event is being thrown right at him, And as a musician, it's like, I can relate to that. I mean, I don't think anyone has pooped their pants while listening to my music, but that general lack of connection where I'm pouring out my soul in a song and someone else is checking their phone or something while I'm doing it. Like, just this calling that you feel versus the disinterest from the world.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's funny is because you write a lot of poop songs, someone should have pooped themselves while listening to your music way more, but you're obviously not pouring out your heart in the poop songs. I mean, maybe one or two, but and certainly the album Meaningful Love Songs or whatever it is by the
Sure, loves. Yeah.
Mature Love Songs, that's it.
Yeah.
Mature is such the perfect word right there. Mature love songs. It's just a perfect. It sounds just the right tone. You can imagine the album with like some brown silk on it with a single rose, maybe in like soft focus. You know what I mean? Like Mature Love Songs. It's perfect.
It's one of the great comedic moves of my life, and no one seems to notice it other than you and a few other people. But thank you.
I noticed it, and it's glorious, and people should look up mature folk songs. But outside of that, do you have this thing you were talking about? Like, you're pouring your heart out, you're playing a song, and someone's checking their phone. Obviously, we spoke earlier in the podcast yesterday in real life that about my album, and I put out some of those flyers today at work on the hope that, because I think I'm relatively popular at work. I don't think I'm like the most popular or the least popular, but I'm relatively popular at work, and I don't talk about the creative stuff that I do very much at work. So I thought it would be a nice surprise to kind of be like, hey, I did an album and you can listen to it and da-da-da-da-da. And apart from and I mean this with all due respect because she's a wonderful human being, but apart from the crazy old woman in the office who doesn't really understand anything, apart from her coming up being like, oh my God, you do music as well. Apart from her, nobody else said anything. Like none of
Yeah.
the like hip young people said anything or did anything or cared or listened or whatever, or even it's also so that's always a downer, because I'm you're constantly pushing, you're constantly putting stuff out, and you hope it gets a good response. But the other thing, do you ever have this where you've listened to a song you've done 100 times and you're like, oh my god, this is like, it's like the best song, it's rocking, it's kicking, it's brilliant, it's da 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 da, and you can't wait, and then you sit down in front of your family or in front of your loved ones or in front of a friend or something like that, and you go, oh my god, you've got to hear this, and you put it on, and you can't tell whether it's the stereo you've put it on or the laptop you're listening to it on or whatever, but suddenly it just sounds awful. Like,
yeah, well,
the
it's not what it is. It's the presence of the other people. Suddenly,
Right.
you're hearing it through their ears.
Yeah,
And,
it's
you know,
awful.
Oh, all the time. And time stands still. I press play, you know, and it's a 2-minute song, and it takes forever. And
Yeah.
I'm just suffering and feel like, why did I do this?
Yeah.
Why did I do this? Oh.
And I
And,
write 6-minute songs, so I sit there for what seems like an entire day while this song plays. And about 2 verses in, I'm like, all right, enough of that. On to the next song. Like, I skip it. I get
Yes.
so self-conscious. It's the worst.
It's so painful. I mean, I try not to do it, but, you know, obviously I can't do it with all my songs because there's too many of them, but still sometimes I'll just be like, I gotta play it for Elizabeth. Ah!
Yeah.
And then I go up there and she has to pause whatever she's got on the TV.
Well, that's the other thing as well. You're always running into someone else's life when they're in the middle of doing something else. They're doing something.
Yeah.
They don't want to do anything that you're doing, but you run in. You'll be like, oh, please, if you, whatever, please just
I'm
listen.
so sorry.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. Please
I-
just listen to this.
Just listen, please.
Now, I don't know whether this is me trying to say that I'm better than everyone else, because I don't mean it like that. But I feel like if someone I loved or a good friend of mine or something like that ran into my room unannounced and went, I just recorded this song and I really need you to listen to it, I'd actually be super flattered by that. Like, I'd be really happy. I'd be all ready to stop whatever I was doing and give attention to a song someone had written.
I know. I mean, you've sent me MP3s after you've finished them, and I listen to it closely, and then I get right back to you, and I say, this is fantastic, or, you know, whatever, and it's an honest opinion. And so I'm the same way. And it blows my mind. Like, just it's beyond disinterest sometimes to the point where it's actually active hatred. Like, people
Actively annoyed at the fact that you have deigned to put something creative in front of them, like actively, like,
or
enough.
not even put it in front of them. Just the fact that you made it makes them so mad. Sometimes they're like, "How dare you? Who do you think you are?"
Yeah.
You know, I feel I talk about the ancient forces of humanity a lot. I wrote a lot of songs about that last year. But one of the ancient forces of humanity is they don't want, you know, they don't want you. They don't want someone they know thinking they're an artist. You know,
Right.
it does not sit well.
It's like the song that's on the album, Where Our Hearts Can Be a Shambles, where it says, you know, be yourself, no, not like that. And we were talking about this
Right,
yesterday. But the same goes for creativity as well. Like, people, when they hear your music or they hear your watch your films or you read your books or whatever kind of creativity you do, people are always like, have you tried doing it this way? Because they're like,
Yeah.
we think you've got something, you know, and this takes it back to Llewyn Davis, but like, you know, that's fine, but could you do it this way instead? And you're like, yep, I could, but if I did it that way, it wouldn't be me. So what you're actually essentially saying is, someone else, we'd rather be listening to someone else.
Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a tough thing, and you know, that's why I'm super, like, excited and excited to hear other people's work. And I'm not just doing it because I think I should. Like I just am. It's like, oh, someone created something. Let me check this out. Wow, this is so interesting. And yet I think the fact that we do it just gives us that much more empathy and curiosity about what other people are doing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I just like, I just like the finished product of something, and I don't know whether it's because I know what goes into it or not, but it's almost like, to me, it's like magic. I feel like a magician who still appreciates the other magician's magic, because while I know how it's done, when I hear something that Johnny Unicorn has done, or when I hear something that you have done, or when I hear something that I don't know, like Terran Trowbridge has done or something, Bang Splat, when I hear this stuff on the especially on the cover song challenge, where people really flex their muscles and kind of do different stuff, I don't know how they did it. Even though I know how the trick is done, I also don't know how the trick is done when I hear a trick or I see a trick that I've not seen before. So when, you know, Johnny Unicorn puts together, like, you know, Go for the Gusto or something, and I listen to it, I'm like, I could never do that. Like, that's something I could never do. It's amazing, you know? Or I hear something on The Big Heist, and I think to myself, well, I know how they did it, but at the same time, I don't know how they did it, and it's so exciting to me. But, you know, that's me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm nothing like that character. I'm very stubborn, so I have that quality of Llewyn Davis. But I'm a lot nicer. He's not very nice to people.
Right.
He's funny. He has a lot of good lines, a lot of good looks, you know. And I don't know what it is. I just like the vibe of the whole movie. I love the recording session for Please Mr. Kennedy. I mean, that is so hilarious. Like,
yeah.
Why? And I love the look of the producer behind the glass, you know, just kind of like barely nodding his head like, yep, this is what we want, you know.
My favorite bit is Oscar Isaac when he's like, who wrote this? And Justin Timberlake went, well, I did. And then he immediately changes to like, oh, okay. Because he knows that, like, also, he, like, Jim and Mary, who are the couple, you know, he's really, like, he insults Jim's music. He's possibly got his girlfriend pregnant. He shows up at their house all the time. Like, he's the worst.
Yeah, he really is. He's the worst, and life is throwing everything it can at him.
Yes.
You know? But I mean, as an independent artist, I know it's different these times than those times, but he definitely, like she says, he's not helping himself out. Like he could try, you know, and his viewpoint seems to be that making this music should be enough is what he says. And like, right. And I guess in an ideal world, yes, but,
well, I have,
you know, New York, go.
No, I have that feeling. I have that. How many albums do I need to put out on Spotify before someone realizes I'm a genius? And I don't really mean that. I don't really think of myself as a genius, but I don't mean that. But like, how many albums do I need to put out on Spotify until like, maybe one or two songs
you get your due? Yeah,
50 plays.
But, I mean,
that's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for 50 plays. But the funny thing is,
you have a job though. That's the thing. He won't even work a job, you know?
Right. No, I get that. But I mean, that's why with this album or indeed just with where I am right now, like turning 40 and looking at the future and all the rest of it, it's a thing where the one thing I haven't done in terms of music is play live. I've not kind of gone out and like networked in the clubs or in the bars or whatever playing the songs live. So the one thing, if I'm Llewyn Davis, the one thing I could do differently, it's not like I don't want to be where I'm similar to Llewyn Davis. I don't want to suddenly join a band. Like I don't want to put myself out there to be like, well, I'll just be the rhythm guitarist in a band, or I'll be the whatever. I don't want that. I want to be a singer-songwriter. Like that's what I want to be. But the one thing I haven't done the one thing I could do differently, the one thing I could push myself with is playing live. So that's the next thing I'm going to toy with now that this album is out there and I have it off my back, kind of thing. But really, for the last 15 years, what I've been doing is putting music online and just being like, hey, look at me in my corner, and hoping something will change.
Yeah, but it's cool. You've amassed this body of work, and I kind of, I've been doing a lot more live stuff than ever before too, and it just feels like all right, I can definitely put a few really good songs together and perform them live in a way that I'd feel confident about, and I'm sure you're at that point too. But have you looked into it deeply? Like, do you know how you're going to approach it?
Well, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull about 5 songs from the last 2 or 3 albums, the ones that I think I could play just me and a guitar and make them interesting. Because my problem is the multi-track thing. I multi-track everything, so me standing on a stage, just me and a guitar, I'm not a good enough guitarist that's an interesting proposition. So I have to somehow, in my head, make it interesting. I think the songwriting...
figure out which songs are you can do in that way and keep their interest. But I mean, you have so many to choose from that I'm sure you'll figure out.
So I need to do that. I need to get, like a comedian gets 20 good minutes, so he can go into any club and do whatever. I want to get 5 to 10 songs, so at any open mic, or if there's a bar down the road, the way station, that has 3 or 4 musicians on of an evening, and if ever they have a spare 15 minutes, that Andy, the owner, could say, hey, John, can you play tonight? And I can go down and do my 15 minutes without, that's 3 or 4 songs. I want to get to the point where I can do that, where I have a good 15 minutes, where by the end of it, it's like when you find, like I do karaoke quite a bit, and I know the 3 or 4 songs that I can kill on karaoke. I don't really need to worry about it anymore. And yes, it gets boring singing the same 4 songs, but it's always a new crowd. So it's except for the bartender or the host of the karaoke. So I kind of want to get to that point where I just have 4 songs that I can do so well that I'm bored of them, but everyone else seems to like them. That's where I want to get to. Yeah,
well, you can do it, and I can't wait to hear about it too. It's going to be interesting. Jon Cross out there, entertaining.
Away.
It's pretty cool, It's really cool, and what's awesome is we're both over 40 now, and we are ancient to the average college kid who's like really into music or whatever.
Yeah.
But also we might be ancient, but also if it's the right college kid, they'd look at the body of work and be like, whoa, I want to explore this,
Yeah.
So, but just like to only begin really performing live at 40 is crazy, but also great. And
it's bold.
And we're a new generation of people who don't, it used to be, if you haven't, don't trust anyone over 30. And, it's like every rock star is in their 20s or whatever, but it's a completely different landscape. And like, if just something catches on for you, think of the back catalog of MPF that people are going to be able to dig through. Imagine if just one of your songs somehow became minorly popular. Think of what the people would get to uncover. Yeah,
it would be nice if, I don't know, once a month I went out and did a gig. Like, that would be nice. Like, I'll take that. That's all I want, is just to go. And not even like a big gig where it's like, good evening, New York City. Like, I don't need that.
Right, just in the corner. Yeah, the corner of some pub, where people are barely paying attention.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So, yeah, Llewyn Davis, good little movie. I like the look of it. I like the performances. I love the music. The music is really, really well done.
The music's great. I found the cinematography, while I really like the colors and the style of the movie, there's like a glossy TV quality to it, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't know where that came from.
Well, it felt like they were trying, like, almost in a digitized way to make it feel like that era or something. Right, I don't know. Right. It felt weird.
Also, what do you think about this? It feels like the Coen Brothers making a Jim Jarmusch movie. That's how it feels to me. It doesn't feel like a Coen Brothers movie.
I don't know Jarmusch enough to comment, but I think it's got some of the. It feels Coen-y to me, you know.
I mean, the John Goodman character is definitely a Coen-y kind of character, and the frustrating elements where he's like going to one person and they're telling him he can't do this unless he goes to do this, and then so he goes to do that, and then that finds out to be all that seems very Coen-y, but some of it feels very wandering. Like Jim Jarmusch's movies tend to just wander. They don't really have a point.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the case. This is we're just kind of hanging out and observing just one chaotic week of many in this man in this man's life, I would think, you know. And I don't know what's going to become of the guy, but it definitely for me it gives me, you know, makes me think like, you know, I could. Odds are more likely I'll end up like Llewyn Davis than Bob Dylan, you know. Like,
which is funny because I feel like in the local legend or international elite legend now or whatever you are, I feel that you are the Dylan and the rest of us are the Llewyn Davises or the Jim and Marys or whatever. That's
yeah, and. Yeah, I mean, I'm super happy with my level of success. It's real cool, but it definitely feels like it could vanish at any point, and I definitely have not earned much respect from more than, you know, the amount of I know all the people who respect me, you know, which is a sign that not too many do, you know.
Right, like today I was able to email everyone who's bought the album because I know them personally. like all the time, you know, I'll be like talking with Frog or Pete or Tom from the Big Heist, and like I'll be like, well, you know, Jon Cross wrote that review. And like, yeah, I love that review. I read it just yesterday. Me too. You know. But the Big Heist, it deserves. Well, I mean, all your stuff does. I mean, I could go on, but like the Big Heist definitely was one of those things. Like, because I think and we talk about this all the time, but what sticks in my craw is those two idiots from Boston who, you know, downplayed your like, well, what is this music if it's comedy? That whole thing. And I just want to play them the Big Heist and be like, now just shut up. In fact, I'm going to get the Big Heist made into vinyl, a 3-sided vinyl, and I'm going to force you to eat it. Like Werner Herzog ate his shoe. I'm going to boil this vinyl and I'm going to force you to eat it plain with nothing on it. And then you have to eat the vinyl. That's how angry I am still at you 6 years later or whatever it is, that you wouldn't take Matt Farley seriously.
I know.
And you do so at your detriment, Boston radio lady.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, I'm reinvigorated though. And you're right. You know, like, the real answer is just to quadruple down in our own microcosm that we have, you know? Yes. And like one thing I was thinking, like how you wrote that Big Heist review on the diner, like we, you know, it's cool how we sort of are like reporting on what each other are doing. Like Todd got overexcited, releases an album, and I have him on my podcast and discuss the album, like, right. As you know, in the way that Dick Cavett might have had John Lennon on, you know.
But I mean, that's
show. Because
I think, and it take me out of the equation. Imagine that I'm not even part of it. I'm just someone. I'm like a reporter, and I'm not even creating my own albums. This to me, this New England / tri-state whatever, this thing that's going on is the most exciting thing going on in the world right now. Like the fact that other people don't know about it, that's their fault.
Catch up or don't.
See if I care. Right, exactly. Yeah. And I mean it. Like, I'm not just saying that because I happen to be in it. It's like when I first discovered Don Dola, the fact that there is this independent filmmaking happening in Baltimore and independent filmmaking happening in New England, that to me is the most exciting thing. That's way more exciting than anything coming out of Hollywood in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and it's good. So, like, I watch the movie, I feel a little sad, I feel a little sorry for myself, I feel the struggle, but then, I talk to you, and it's like, yeah, you know what? You know what's cool is in the face of everything, we're persevering, we're having so much fun, too, you know?
And the difference is that we're not, in Llewyn Davis, he's taking advantage of that network. So he's taking advantage of the Gaslight owner, and he's taking advantage of Jim and Mary, and he's taking advantage of the old teaching couple. But he doesn't want to be a part of any of that. Like, he's not interested in being part of the community. The difference with us is we're interested in being part of this community. We're interested in collaborating and sharing and reporting and supporting. Like, that's interesting to us. And what yet another thing that Llewyn Davis is doing wrong is he's not even investing in the community that is doing what he's doing. In fact, he insults the community that he's a part of. Like, all he does is sing other people's songs. And okay, yes, he does it well, but he just sings other people's songs, and it's no better than the woman with the harp up on stage and in the grand scheme of things. And he should be friends with her. He shouldn't be shouting at her. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he deserves everything he gets. He really does. Yeah.
He should give Jim his due, even though Jim wrote a stupid song about Mr. Kennedy. Like, hey, if that gets him on the road,
that's one of my favorite songs of all time. You kidding me? Hey, Mr. Kennedy, oh, and then the guy
Adam Driver is like, whoop,
space. It's so hilarious. The looks, yeah. I mean, the movie is really what I love is a movie that can be. You can watch it and feel sad, or you can watch it another time and just laugh like crazy, and like. A lot of Kubrick's movies are like that, and a lot of the Coen's movies too. Like they hit these emotions, but there's always just a little bit of a subversion to the vibe, just to make it a little bit weird and a little bit funny. So it's a good experience. You can, depending on what mood you're in, you can sit back and enjoy the movie in different ways.
Yeah, and I like that the only thing he really tries to do anything about is the cat. And even that he leaves in the car ultimately. But like, there's a thing where he is definitely trying to keep the cat around.
He kind of like sees the cat as his last salvation or something, it seems.
But I also like the fact like it's both really dark and really funny that at the Gore finds where he's singing the song that him and his partner used to do. Yeah. And then she starts to sing.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't do that.
That he gets mad is hilarious, because on one hand he's getting mad because she's doing his part and he's dead and therefore no one does his part anymore. But on the other hand, he's also incensed that anyone would sing while he's singing. Like, I'm doing my song. Will you, like, what are you doing?
Before we finish here, are you gonna make the definitive doco about this community, or what?
You and I have been talking about me doing a doco, I feel like, for years, and I think that I need to finally do it. I feel like the gauntlet has been thrown down. I feel like we have a feasible way to do it with modern technology.
And it's just it's like a movie. There's plenty of docos. I love calling them docos, by the way. It's so much fun.
Yes.
But like, there's so many docos, like we just said, about and then the Beatles made Revolver, and then the Beach Boys made Pet Sounds. That kind of just like looks at the way that people are inspiring one another and challenging one another. And so it wouldn't be just about one artist, about this whole community and like all the people who collaborated with you on the album. If you kind of like did just like a doco that showed us showed this whole community and presented it as something worthwhile, that might trick a few people into liking us.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. What I would want to do, I guess, I would use probably the story of me getting to know you and Charlie's films, and then the music as an in, and then would interview all the other players to find out where they were in whenever that was, 2011 or 2012 or whenever that was. Like, what were you doing in 2012? Like, what got you into music? What got you into film? Da-da-da-da-da. And try and sort of chronologically and linearly group us all together and see kind of where we all intersect, and use that as kind of the through line, while along the way hanging albums and movies off that and talking about those kind of things.
I mean, it would be a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but anytime you can fill up like a minute of screen time by just having an album cover on the screen and playing a clip of a song, it's like, all right, there, we just filled 1/90th of the movie. And
of course, my dream would be to do it. I mean, I know we talked about like, well, I could do it on Skype and just sort of record Skype and kind of do it that way, which would
have them film it on their end and send you the file at least with a slightly better video. But keep going.
Right. No, but I like part of me wants to do it, and this is why my brain is the worst. Is it always it expands things way beyond what I could actually film. But I would want it. You know how like musicians are always filmed either in front of like mixing desks or walls of books, or out by a barn, or like just like random stuff. I kind of want to do that. Like, I kind of want to have, Jay Mayer out by his shed and smoke in the background and stuff, like he's lit a fire.
Well, if you want to do it for real, there's nothing wrong with that. And that, I mean, it does make it easier to ingest when it's presented in that way, versus just some guy.
I feel like out of the Northeast, we've got a good section of people, and then stuff like Johnny Unicorn and the Belgians and things like that, we would probably have to do via Skype or at the extravaganza or something.
Yeah, well, who knows? But we got to tell the world about how great we are.
We do. But I think if we do it so that at the extravaganza weekend, because funnily enough, I was going to use like the Slingshot Cops premiere as sort of the springboard to a doc. I can now use the Metal Detector Maniac premiere as the springboard. Because kind of just to annoy you, we could start the movie with the Metal Detector Maniac premiere and then go back in time for no reason at all.
Oh, that's a big time inside joke. That's good.
Matt really hates movies that start at the end and go back to the beginning. So here we are at the Metal Detector Maniac screening, which is the most recent movie by Charlie and Farley. We now go back in time to see where it all began.
If you're gonna narrate that, then I'm okay. I'm okay. It's when look. I'd prefer you don't do it, but at least you're not misleading us and confusing us. Like, I don't think movies should be confusing. I think that it should be obvious, and if it's not obvious, a narrator should just jump in and explain it to make sure we're all on the same page. I watched Little Women and I loved it, except I didn't know what year it was half the time.
Right.
And
I've heard
it's
that
like, it's on different timelines. Isn't that so innovative? Like, no,
not innovative at all. Just annoying.
All right. I'm gonna keep ranting, but I'll do it. I'll just after we hang up, I'll just rant down here in the basement before I go.
It's fine, because aren't we gonna do an episode of the Motern Media Infomercial podcast soon?
Yeah. We'll give it a couple of weeks so we can build up some more material. But yeah, it'll be good. And look out, world. We're in our 40s, and we're not giving up. We're still going to tell our coworkers about our songs. By the way, I had the same problem all the time with my coworkers, and it was always embarrassing, but I just couldn't help it. I'd have to tell them, and I could see them hating every second of it. It's so strange.
It got really funny because the mad old woman who works in our office and has worked there for 30 years or whatever, she doesn't understand technology. So not only was it embarrassing that she kind of came over and was like talking at me about the fact that I do music, but then I had to painstakingly show her how to play it on her computer. And it was so embarrassing.
Right. The only people who show the interest do it wrong. You know, you can't win.
No, you can't win. Anyway, watch Inside Llewyn Davis. It's a pretty decent effort by the Coen Brothers. Not my favorite, but definitely reinvigorated my interest in it. Watching it again for this podcast, hadn't seen it in a minute or two, and it was nice to revisit it with Farley's eyes on it. I think I watched it with what I thought your interest in it would be, and I think I got a lot more out of it.
Well, thanks for having me on the show.
It's always a pleasure, sir. Thank you. This was a 3-hour epic. It's going back to the old days, dude.
Woo!
All right. Excellent. I'm going to stop now.